Chapter 1487. With a flash of golden light, the divine ocean-suppressing staff, which he had just obtained and had yet to warm up, fell out of his deific consciousness space and landed on Emperor Rock, who was the fastest. Yin-Yang's body continued to rise, soaring upwards. However, at this moment, all the gazes and attention of the experts from the demon race and sea clan were no longer on Yin-Yang, even though Yin-Yang was the archenemy of the demon race and sea clan and a target they had to eliminate. At this moment, there was only one thing in everyone's eyes: the divine ocean-suppressing staff. Although Emperor Neptune wished that he could skin Yin-Yang alive and grind his bones to ashes, he still chose to temporarily let Yin-Yang go at this juncture. He turned his target back to snatching the divine ocean-suppressing staff. A supreme artifact. A symbol of power. Invincible. In an instant, the experts of the demon race and sea clan fell into a frenzy. Everyone's target was the divine ocean-suppressing staff. Hundreds of saint experts rushed towards the divine ocean-suppressing staff that was shining with a yellow light and falling straight from the sky. It looked like a hungry tiger pouncing on its prey. Furthermore, this group of hungry tigers was ferocious. As expected, Emperor Rock was the first to touch the divine ocean-suppressing staff. A claw extended at lightning speed, wanting to take the staff away. With Emperor Rock's flying speed, no one in this world could snatch the staff away if it really fell into his hands. However, the moment Emperor Rock touched the staff, the weapons of dozens of experts from the Sea Clan slashed at him in unison. Emperor Rock could forcefully retrieve the staff, but there would inevitably be a moment of delay. That moment was enough for the weapons, palms, and cultivation techniques of dozens of pinnacle experts to strike Emperor Rock. At the same time, the Sea Emperor roared angrily. An arm suddenly stretched out without any warning, and with a whoosh, it grew thousands of feet long. Before all the attacking weapons could reach him, he ruthlessly struck Emperor Rock's chest with his palm. Emperor Rock, who was caught off guard, grunted and instantly transformed into his true form. He returned to being a giant rock that was tens of thousands of feet tall. Unfortunately, it was immediately hit by various weapons, causing golden light to flash and feathers to fly everywhere. However, with a roar, it actually resisted the countless attacks and fiercely grabbed the sea-suppressing divine staff. It would rather suffer a heavy blow than give up. With a flash of golden light, a long saber appeared in Poseidon's hand. The next moment, a saber light flashed. All the experts had the same feeling: heaven and earth would be split into two by this saber. Golden light flashed. Emperor Rock let out an extremely painful roar. His voice shook the entire area. A massive claw, which was as large as a mountain, had been sliced off by the brilliant saber strike. The huge rock claw, together with the ocean-suppressing divine scepter, fell into the sea. The Eagle Emperor let out a long cry as his body shook, revealing his true form. Like a black arrow, he shot forward at an unparalleled speed. At the last moment when the sea-suppressing divine staff was about to fall into the sea, Jiang caught up and used his spine to lift the sea-suppressing divine staff up. With a boom, the sea-suppressing divine staff fell onto the Eagle Emperor's back. This was equivalent to being ruthlessly smashed. The Eagle Emperor let out a muffled groan and spat out a mouthful of blood. However, this didn't reduce the joy of obtaining a treasure at all. He flapped his wings with all his might and took advantage of the gap to fly away with the sea-suppressing divine staff. In an instant, he flew more than 1,000 feet away and spat out a mouthful of life essence. His speed actually increased once again. If he was as fast as an arrow just now, then he was even faster than an arrow now. He was about to rush out of the encirclement. However, at this moment, he was not far from the sea. A monstrous wave suddenly rose, and actually enveloped the Eagle Emperor, who was moving at high speed, within the wave. A cold and stern voice shouted, "Come down." Countless weapons flashed in the waves again. The Eagle Emperor roared at the sky. Large amounts of blood immediately gushed out of his body, splattering the sky. However, the Black Eagle body seemed to not see the injuries on his body. He still stubbornly held on to the sea-suppressing divine staff and struggled out of the waves with all his might. Once he returned to the sky, he let out an eagle cry, "Tiger!" The Tiger Emperor turned into his original form, a huge white tiger that was tens of thousands of feet long. He shook his head and wagged his tail as he chased after the Eagle Emperor. Ever since the Eagle Emperor rushed out, he had been chasing after him. He knew that although the Eagle Emperor's attacks were sharp and his flying speed was strong, his individual strength was far inferior. Furthermore, the sea-suppressing divine staff was unusually heavy. Thus, even if the Eagle Emperor succeeded, he still needed another helper to support him. Thus, he chased after him. However, even though he chased after him with all his might, he was still left behind from the start. The Eagle Emperor's flying speed was simply too fast. Not to mention that he also had that mouthful of life essence. This also caused the Eagle Emperor to be unable to help but rely on his own strength when he was attacked. At this moment, the Eagle Emperor's huge body was like a sieve that was full of holes. Blood flowed out from many of his wounds. Previously, when he returned to the sky, he was only barely able to do so. On the surface of the sea, countless members of the sea race reached out with their huge tentacles and grabbed the Eagle Emperor, dragging him into the sea. The Eagle Emperor struggled with all his might. Thousands of feet away, the Sea Emperor and the other experts of the sea race had already torn through space and arrived. Ah! The Eagle King made a prompt decision and spat out 3 mouthfuls of blood essence in an instant. His power instantly increased, and he let out a fierce roar. He carried the sea-suppressing divine staff on his back and dragged the countless sea race's tentacles with him as he rose 400 to 500 feet into the air and charged in the direction of the Tiger King. This is our demon ancestors' sacred weapon. It belongs to the demon race. The Eagle Emperor shouted at the top of his lungs. The Crane Emperor, the Eagle Emperor, and the other bird-type demon emperors had already arrived. Countless sharp lights shot out and cut off all the tentacles in the sea. The Tiger Emperor flew directly under the Eagle Emperor and carried him and the sea-suppressing divine staff on his back. The Crane Emperor and the Eagle Emperor also transformed into their true forms. One on the left and one on the right, they supported the Eagle Emperor and flew forward with all their might. Let's go. The Rock Emperor, the Leopard Emperor, and the Wolf Emperor had already led the other demon sages over. They all gathered behind the Eagle Emperor and the others. A total of more than 40 demon sages blocked the oceanic race army that was surging over like a tidal wave. Behind them, the demon sage and half-sage army also rushed over with all their might. The Sea Emperor appeared in a flash. He was so angry that his hair stood on end. Rock Emperor, you snatched the divine staff by force. Are you courting death? Without waiting for the Rock Emperor's reply, he roared, "Attack! Dead or alive." The two sides immediately fought fiercely, and it was extremely intense. At this moment, both sides forgot about the alliance and the world extermination plan. There was only one thing that mattered, the sea-suppressing divine staff. The Rock Emperor roared into the sky. The blood essence in his body surged into the sky, turning into a small rock that flapped its wings and disappeared. Go find the Phoenix Emperor. The next moment, both sides collided violently. Just a single touch caused blood to spurt everywhere. For the demon race. For the sea race. As soon as both sides came into contact, they fought with all their might. More than 20 beginner-level saints exploded the moment they came into contact with the sea-suppressing divine staff. The battle was indescribably tragic. On the other hand, Yun Yang, the culprit, was panting hard in the sky. This time, he was almost beaten to a pulp. Now, no one, be it the oceanic race or the demons, paid attention to him. He was an irreconcilable enemy of the demon race and the sea race. Looking at the battle below, Yun Yang heaved a long sigh of relief. Alliance? I'll let you guys form an alliance. With the sea-suppressing divine staff, let's see how you guys reconcile. The demon race's civil war was so intense that the sun and moon lost their light. They fought from the sea to the sky and then back to the sea. Countless Saint Venerables and Saint Monarchs fell from the sky like dumplings. Too many experts from the two clans had already become corpses the moment they fell from the sky. Whether it was Saint Monarchs or Saint Venerables, or even half-step saints, as long as they had not reached the level of a saint, they could not instantly recover their origin and be reborn from a single drop of blood. Participating in a battle of this level was no different from courting death. This was only the members of the oceanic race nearby. They had already fled in panic at the beginning of the battle. Those who did not manage to escape in time, the weaker members of the oceanic race who lived within 3,000 miles of the battle's origin and 20,000 feet underwater, were all killed by the aftermath of the battle. As the battle became more and more intense, even the top saint-level powerhouses of this world began to fall. In the continuous fierce battle, 9 saint-level of the Sea Clan and 7 saint-level of the Demon Clan died because their life force was completely wiped out. Among the Sea Clan sages, only 4 of them died because their combat power was not strong enough and they were attacked by the demons. The other 5 died because they were part of the group that activated the sea-suppressing divine scepter in the Sea Emperor Palace. Because they had consumed too much energy in the process of activating the scepter, they had rushed to the battle before they could recover. In the end, they were completely exhausted and were besieged to death by the Demon Clan. Their deaths could be said to be extremely tragic. Strictly speaking, at least in this round of battle, the oceanic race's loss was far greater than the demon race's. Those who were qualified and capable of joining forces to activate the sea-suppressing divine staff were the cream of the crop, whether it was their cultivation base or their loyalty to the Sea Emperor. They were also the cream of the oceanic race's pinnacle combat power. The death of 5 of them was a great loss. Although the demons had also lost 7 saints, none of them were demon emperors. They were only the elites of the various races. As the casualties on both sides increased, both sides became more and more bloodthirsty. They shouted loudly and fought fiercely. The Eagle Emperor and the Rock Emperor were injured, but they still fought bravely. This also caused many experts of the oceanic race to focus their attacks on them. As a result, although the 2 emperors did not die, they were beaten to the point where their lives were hanging by a thread. Finally, they were rescued by the experts of the demon race and escorted to the mountain by the sea. Only then did they have a chance to catch their breath. At that moment, the focus of both sides was the sea-suppressing divine staff. It was still emitting a yellow light as it stood on the mountaintop. It was not that no one wanted to keep it, but the item was ridiculously heavy. Ordinary spatial items could not carry it at all. Even if the Tiger Emperor and the other demons had exquisite spatial items that had been passed down since ancient times and could carry this treasure, the user's movement would be restricted immediately. They would be slowed down by more than 60%, and they would have to expend a lot of energy to deal with it. The Tiger Emperor had originally planned to keep it, but countless experts of the oceanic race had focused on the wielder of the staff without any regard for their lives. Even someone as powerful as the Tiger Emperor had almost died, so he had quickly placed this hot potato on a mountain. The Tiger Emperor sighed deeply. This thing was 2F** king heavy. No wonder Rock Emperor, who had both speed and strength, couldn't escape with the treasure when he came into contact with it. Instead, he had lost one of his claws. The Eagle Emperor had temporarily obtained the treasure, but it had become a huge burden. If he had not continuously activated the origin of life, he might have perished in this battle. Now, this thing was the Reaper's stick. Whoever took it would die. As for Yun Yang, he could not be blamed for giving up on the treasure. Carrying this thing would greatly slow down his speed, and he would definitely die if he tried to escape with it. As the battle grew more and more intense, the demonic beasts, who had relatively fewer people, were all fighting with all their might. They could no longer free themselves to retrieve the divine staff. The only 2 that were free were the heavily injured Eagle Emperor and Rock Emperor, who were on the verge of death. The Eagle Emperor did not have any spare energy to retrieve the staff in his current state. He could barely even breathe now. Asking him to retrieve the staff now was akin to asking him to die. There was also the Rock Emperor. He had only lost one of his claws, but he had endured countless attacks from the oceanic race and had been struck by Neptune's palm. His injuries were not much better than the Eagle Emperor's, so he could only take a breather. On the demon race's side, even though all of them were elites, and all of them were fighting with their lives on the line, their absolute strength was still far inferior to the other side. Especially as the battle continued, more and more sea races reinforcements arrived. The demon race originally had more than 600 high-end combat forces, but now only slightly more than 300 were left. The demon race's experts who were below the middle level of Saint Monarch had long died. At this moment, the remaining 300 or so experts formed a defensive circle, protecting the dying Eagle Emperor, Rock Emperor, and the Divine Ocean Staff in the center of the circle. They were still fighting and resisting stubbornly. There were more and more members of the sea race outside, with 3 layers inside and 3 layers outside. Their total combat power had already exceeded 50,000, and their combat power was at least above the level of a supreme saint. The sea-suppressing divine scepter was right in front of them, within easy reach. The eyes of the sea race all turned red, and their attacks became stronger and stronger. On the other hand, the demon clan was also extremely excited. They could finally take back the demon ancestors' treasure. Now that they had it, all that was left was to bring it home. As long as they could protect it, they would win. Hold on. The Crane Emperor fought fiercely. As long as we hold on until the Phoenix Emperor arrives, we will win. The ancestral treasure will return, and the demon race will prosper. The Sea Emperor roared, "Come on, come on." His eyes were already bloodshot. What kind of feeling was it to have the divine artifact that had been in his hands for countless years snatched away? It was not just unforgettable, it was heart-wrenching. At this moment, a dark red flame suddenly appeared in the distance, rising endlessly and gradually approaching. That was the Phoenix Emperor rushing over. Along with it was another glorious aura, but it was unprecedentedly grand. It was as grand as it could be. That was the Demon Emperor. Other than the Demon Emperor, no one else in the entire demon race could have such a grand aura. The Sea Emperor was even more enraged. With the Demon Emperor and Phoenix Emperor arriving together, it was even more impossible to get the Divine Ocean Staff back. Unless he could get the staff back before the 2 emperors arrived, he would no longer have any fate with the Divine Staff. Because of this, the Sea Emperor roared into the sky, and the boundless ocean surged. Monstrous waves shot up into the sky, as if they were really connected to the heavens. The appearance of this unprecedented wave actually cut off the Demon Emperor and Phoenix Emperor's line of sight. Following that, with a thunderous roar, a golden light flew out, and a 10,000-meter-tall golden-armored god suddenly appeared in the sky. He held a golden longbow in his hand, and then he nocked an arrow. Countless golden light arrows shot out. Countless sharp arrows shot toward the Rock Emperor, Eagle Emperor, and the others. With one arrow, the golden-armored giant immediately dissipated. However, the arrow did not dissipate. Seeing the danger, the Crane Emperor suddenly revealed his true form, and his giant wings flapped wildly, swinging toward the sharp arrows. However, there was only a soft swoosh. Not only did the seemingly indestructible wings not destroy the sharp arrows, but they were also silently pierced through. The arrowhead contained an extremely sharp aura as it pierced through the Crane Emperor's head. A drop of blood appeared. The Crane Emperor roared, and a wound appeared on his head as if it had appeared out of thin air. In the next instant, a large amount of blood mixed with brain matter flowed out rapidly. And this wound, even the Crane Emperor, who had the body of a high-grade sage, could not heal himself. The Crane Emperor roared crazily and screamed, but his huge body spun and fell from the sky. It was not just the Crane Emperor, the Tiger Emperor, the Panther Emperor, the Wolf Emperor, the Eagle Emperor. All the demon race experts that formed the defensive circle, more than 70 of them, all had an eye-catching wound in the middle of their heads. For a moment, all the experts' eyes were blank, and they all fell to the ground. The power of that golden light was so powerful that none of the demon race experts were spared. As for the demon race experts whose ranks were lower than sages, they died on the spot. For a moment, the sky was like dumplings being dropped into a pot. The atmosphere suddenly became unprecedentedly heavy. This scene happened too suddenly, and it was beyond everyone's expectations, whether it was the demon race or the sea race. The person who caused this shocking scene, the Ocean Emperor, had an unprecedentedly pale face, and blood flowed out of his 7 orifices. He looked haggard, and his body swayed in the air as if he could fall at any time. However, he still forced himself to fly toward the mountain peak. Landing. His target was the sea-suppressing divine staff. The Eagle Emperor and Rock Emperor lay on the ground, panting with difficulty. The two of them watched in despair as their brothers fell from the sky powerlessly and fell in front of them. They were panting with difficulty, and their breaths were weak. They were clearly on the verge of death, but they seemed to be in a worse state than the two of them. So many powerful brothers. How could this be? What kind of injury was this? Even a high-grade sage couldn't avoid it, and they couldn't even escape. With so many demon race experts piled up here, it was difficult for them to even move. They were like lambs waiting to be slaughtered. Both the Eagle Emperor and Rock Emperor couldn't believe it. However, they had to believe it. That's the arrow of Nirvana. The Eagle Emperor roared. The arrow of Nirvana couldn't be avoided or dodged. It trapped the soul, and anyone who was hit would die. It was also the ultimate move that the Sea Emperor could only use once in his life. He could only use it once in his life. At the same time, it was the Sea Emperor's final trump card. It forcefully extracted 90% of the Sea Emperor's soul, divine sense, and physical strength, and gathered all of it in one attack. It would trigger the ancestor god's power to appear, and kill the enemy in the blink of an eye. This move was the Sea Emperor's taboo move. Chapter 1488. Even though the Sea Emperor's arrow of Nirvana was aimed at too many targets and was too scattered, causing its destructive power to be reduced, the Tiger Emperor and his brothers were still fatally injured. Even though they were lucky enough to survive and were still conscious for a short period of time, this was only temporary. If they didn't receive treatment in time, they would immediately be unconscious for more than 100 years. After waking up in the future, they wouldn't be able to recover their strength for at least 3,000 years. During this recovery period, they wouldn't even have 1% of their peak strength. They would need at least 10,000 years to fully recover, and it was only a possibility. But who knew what would happen in these 10,000 years? The Sea Emperor's desperate attack had achieved unprecedented results, causing more than half of the peak experts of the demon race to fall. Emperor Peng and the others were heavily injured and unconscious on the spot. There was no need to mention the low-level and mid-level sages of the demon race. All of them died on the spot under the arrow of Nirvana. They didn't even have room to struggle. Seeing the Sea Emperor fly down to grab the sea-suppressing divine staff, the Eagle Emperor's eyes turned red. Was the sea-suppressing divine staff going to be snatched back after sacrificing so many? If the Sea Emperor came down, so many of his brothers wouldn't be able to protect themselves. Would the Sea Emperor let them off? Screech. No. Emperor Peng's expression changed drastically. He clearly realized what the Eagle Emperor was about to do. However, the Eagle Emperor suddenly let out a long cry. Suddenly, his body burned with a blazing white flame. His body, which was originally lying on the ground, suddenly soared into the air and fiercely crashed towards the Sea Emperor. His entire body burned with blazing white flames. The flames became more and more intense. The Eagle Emperor looked up into the sky with determination. There was no turning back. The heavily injured Eagle Emperor's last bit of soul and origin soul burned at this moment. The Sea Emperor descended and the Eagle Emperor charged up. Seeing the Sea Emperor's might, the other experts of the sea race didn't dare to go forward. What if they aroused the Sea Emperor's suspicion? What if they were hit by that attack? Therefore, the only one who came to collect the divine artifact was the Sea Emperor himself. When they saw the Eagle Emperor fly up, it was already too late for the Turtle Minister and the others to go forward. The Eagle Sovereign and the Sea Sovereign clashed about 300 meters away from the top of the mountain. It was the most extreme and direct contact. The Eagle Emperor was so close to the Sea Emperor that he could see the fear in the Sea Emperor's eyes. "No. I don't want you, my ass." The Eagle Emperor roared, "Come with me. Scum." With a bang, the two monarchs collided solidly together. The blazing white flames on the Eagle Emperor's body instantly soared and engulfed the Ocean Emperor. Emperor Rock, who was the only one remaining clear-headed on the mountain, suddenly closed his eyes, unable to bear seeing the Eagle Monarch's final strike. At this time, a loud roar came from the horizon. "Stop!" It was the voice of the Phoenix Emperor. He had just broken through the barrier and rushed over, but it was already too late. Only the Eagle Emperor's hearty laughter resounded. "The sea-suppressing divine staff belongs to the demon race." Boom! A ball of light suddenly exploded in the air. The Eagle Emperor had activated his life source and decided to self-destruct, like a bright sun rising from the sky. The Eagle Emperor was extremely furious and decided to go to the extreme. He didn't hold back at all in this explosion. Even his Niden, origin soul, physical body, divine sense, everything that could be added was fused into this explosion. This time, not only did he not leave any leeway for himself, but he also didn't leave any leeway for the other party. Other than the mountain where Emperor Rock and the others were lying, which was deliberately preserved by the Eagle Emperor, the other 4 surrounding mountains were all reduced to ashes. Surging seawater flowed out. But at this moment, no one cared about this. All the experts of the Sea Clan stared at this scene in a daze. This series of unforeseen events had first caused many sages to fall one after another. Then, the Sea Emperor had used his ultimate forbidden move to destroy the demon race's peak combat power. Then, the Eagle Emperor, who was on the verge of death, had gone to the extreme and self-destructed to deal with the Sea Emperor. This was really F*King exciting. It was too F*King unreal. Amidst the intense light of the explosion, the Sea Emperor's huge body tumbled. His body kept shattering, and his screams rang out incessantly. His 8 arms had all left his body, and his 2 legs had also turned into specks of starlight and dissipated. As for the 3 heads, 2 of them had already disappeared. The remaining one was also emitting specks of drifting light. In the end, the remaining head and half of his body howled miserably in the blazing white light. As he struggled, he fell into the sea, dripping with blood. A figure flashed. The Phoenix Emperor and the Demon Emperor finally sensed it and landed on the mountain. When the 2 emperors saw the tragic scene, they couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. There was no need to say anything else. Just the Eagle Emperor's roar before he self-destructed, the sea-suppressing divine scepter that was quietly emitting yellow light on the ground, and the tragic scene, the Phoenix Emperor and the Demon Emperor almost instantly understood what had happened. This was the outcome of the fight for the sea-suppressing divine scepter. However, the 2 emperors couldn't figure out one thing. Wasn't the sea-suppressing divine scepter always in the hands of the Sea Emperor? How could there be a fight over it? This lacked a process, or rather, an opportunity, Brother Phoenix. Tears of blood flew from the eyes of Emperor Rock, who was lying on the ground. Remember to avenge the eagle. Avenge the eagle. The Tiger Emperor, Leopard Emperor, and the others cried out in unison, "Avenge us! Your Majesty Phoenix Emperor!" Prime Minister Turtle suddenly knelt in front of the Phoenix Emperor with his hunched body. "Your Majesty, please save my Emperor's life. From now on, the Sea Clan will follow the demon race's lead. We will no longer fight for the sea-suppressing divine scepter." The Sea Emperor's head and half of his body fell into the sea, bobbing up and down. However, the incandescent flames were still burning, and his body was still crumbling. Everyone could see that if there were no top-notch experts to rescue him and neutralize the power of the Eagle Emperor's self-destruction, which was the incandescent flames, the Sea Emperor would definitely die. He had first fought with Yun Yang with all his might, then fought with Emperor Rock and the others, sacrificing 90% of the power of his deific consciousness and soul before being attacked by the Eagle Emperor's self-destruction. Even though the Eagle Emperor was already at the end of his tether at that time, the power of the self-destruction of his soul was still enough to take away the half-dead Sea Emperor in one fell swoop. The Sea Emperor was the ruler of the Sea clan, the supreme leader, and also the person with the highest cultivation base in the Sea clan. Even though he had suffered heavy injuries this time, once the Sea clan truly lost him, they would forever lose their right to speak in the demon realm. Now that the sea-suppressing divine scepter was in the hands of the demon race, they would never be able to get it back once the Dragon Emperor and Phoenix Emperor arrived. This was a fact. Therefore, Prime Minister Turtle made a prompt decision and suggested that the Sea clan was willing to submit completely and give up the sea-suppressing divine scepter in exchange for the Sea Emperor's life. The muscles on the Phoenix Emperor's face trembled violently. He hesitated, and his gaze kept changing. On the ground, Emperor Rock and the others, who were on the verge of death, raised their heads with all their might and cried out, "Brother Phoenix! No, no! Little Eagle has already gone. We can't let Little Eagle die in vain. We can't." At this moment, Emperor Rock and the others were already begging. They had already lost the strength to fight and were about to fall into a long coma. Even if they wanted to, they didn't have the ability. However, their brothers couldn't die in vain. The Sea Emperor had to be buried with the Eagle Emperor. The current situation was simple. As long as the Phoenix Emperor and the Demon Emperor didn't interfere, the Sea Emperor was dead. All the heavily injured Emperor's eyes were about to spit out blood. The self-destructive flames that the Eagle Emperor had ignited with his life were not easy to deal with. It was definitely not something the exhausted Sea Emperor could deal with. The truth was as such. The Sea Emperor, who was floating on the surface of the sea, endured the incandescent flames and was about to be burned to ashes. At this moment, he only had less than a third of his body and half of his head left. At that moment, he couldn't even let out a miserable scream. Emperor Rock and the others watched happily, their eyes filled with joy. "Die! Die for my brothers! Your Majesty, Demon Emperor!" The Turtle Prime Minister kowtowed heavily and pleaded. The Phoenix Emperor has facilitated the cooperation between the two races and jointly proposed a plan to destroy the world. We have shown our goodwill and sincerity to each other. The billions of sea creatures of the sea race are already prepared to counterattack. We are only waiting for the Demon Emperor's order. The two majesties have also returned with the demon ancestors' treasure, the sea-suppressing divine staff. The unification of the black world is imminent. Why do you have to be impulsive and delay the overall situation? Your Majesty, the demon's current priority is to destroy the humans of the black world. Now that the sea race has returned to the demons, they are your Majesty's subjects. Why can't you show us some mercy? Your Majesty, the overall situation is more important. Half of the Phoenix Emperor's body trembled violently. The Demon Emperor took a deep breath as his cheeks trembled. He turned to look at the Phoenix Emperor. "Brother Phoenix, the Phoenix Emperor was too familiar with the Demon Emperor." From the Demon Emperor's eyes, it was clear that the Demon Emperor was tempted. He wanted to save the Sea Emperor and achieve greater accomplishments. He wanted to become the ruler of the demons after the sea race. The Phoenix Emperor closed his eyes. Logically speaking, he could completely understand the Demon Emperor's choice. The results of this battle were tragic. Emperor Rock and more than 70 demon sages had been shot by the arrow of Nirvana and lost their combat strength. At the very least, they could not be relied on for the next 10,000 years. As for the other half-sages and great sages, they had long perished. This power, at least for now, had been completely lost. And this combat strength could be said to be the most elite combat strength below the Demon Emperor and Phoenix Emperor. It had been lost just like that. Right now, the demons were trying to destroy the human race. Suddenly losing this combat strength would definitely cause the battle to lose its stability. How could they make up for this loss? As long as the sea race was subdued, it would be fine. Although the sea race had suffered great losses in this battle, their main force was still intact. On the eve of a great battle, as a king, how could he ignore the overall situation because of a moment of impulse? Did he have to offend his allies to death? In particular, he had already obtained the sea-suppressing divine staff. The important sea race officials had even declared their allegiance to him. Furthermore, Prime Minister Turtle had promised on behalf of the Sea Emperor that the sea race would return to the demon race. This meant that the sea race, which had not returned to the demon race for 150,000 years, would return to the demon race. His identity as a demon emperor would advance further. This was a glorious achievement. How could he lose the big picture because of a small gain? The Phoenix Emperor sighed and slowly took a step back. As Emperor Rock and the others' joy turned to disappointment, disappointment turned to despair, and even despair, the demon monarch took a step forward. A dragon roar shook the sky. Following that, a resplendent wave of vitality scattered down. Wherever the vitality passed, a graceful golden dragon suddenly appeared in the sky and shouted, "Open!" Clear air flowed in all directions, completely separating the remaining incandescent flames. The clear air mixed with infinite vitality was completely injected into the Ocean Emperor's already fragmented body. As the white flames were isolated, the refreshing aura flowed around the Sea Emperor's body. The golden dragon in the sky opened its mouth again, and a golden beam of light landed on the Sea Emperor's body. The Demon Emperor's thoughts were very simple. Prime Minister Turtle had sworn that the Sea Emperor would return to the demon race with the sea race. Since he had decided to take action, he might as well do it thoroughly. Not only did he have to save the Sea Emperor, but he also had to help him recover. Only then could he appear glorious and approachable as the Lord of the Demon Race. Boundless vitality flowed endlessly into the Ocean Emperor's broken body, on the ground. Emperor Rock and the other 70+ sages watched this scene in a daze. All of them were expressionless, but tears rolled down their cheeks. They had been beaten to the point that they could not move. The Eagle Emperor had resolutely self-destructed for his brothers, protecting everyone and successfully protecting the sea-suppressing divine staff. Now, his sacrifice had become meaningless. The Emperor of a generation didn't even get a single scapegoat. He had already relied on himself to cripple the Sea Emperor, cripple him, and was about to kill him and perish together with him. But he was saved by the master he was loyal to. What else was there to say? Countless heavily injured demons instantly felt that their hearts were completely dead. The remaining 6 sages of the Eagle race didn't cry. They were all expressionless. Their eyes were gloomy as they lowered their heads. They didn't look at the Demon Emperor again. The Phoenix Emperor's figure flashed and landed in front of everyone. A red halo of light that contained dense vitality poured out as if it was free. It enveloped the bodies of all the demons, and at the same time, she sighed softly. "Brother Peng, you guys have to understand that we have no other choice." The Tiger Emperor snorted and was about to speak when he was stopped by Emperor Rock. Emperor Rock raised his deeply lowered head gently. His face was already calm. He chuckled and said, "Brother Phoenix, there's no need to say anything else. We understand. We understand. We don't care about trifles. For the sake of the demon's great cause for thousands of years, some sacrifices are trivial. This isn't the time for us to throw a tantrum." The Eagle Emperor panted for a while. Under Emperor Rock's stern gaze, he smiled and said, "The world annihilation strategy is definitely a decisive battle with the humans. Everyone has long been prepared. For the sake of the demons, sacrifices are inevitable. Although I, Old Eagle, don't want to die and am even more afraid of death, it doesn't matter if it's my turn. It's all for the demons." The Leopard Emperor said, That's right. We have all seen the Demon Emperor's grand plans and foresight. Indeed, we should focus on the overall situation now. However, Brother Phoenix, we can only say with shame that we won't be able to help our brothers anymore. We actually became deserters before the great battle. It's really... Sigh, I don't know what to say. Today is Aunt's 87th birthday. I drank 2 cups. Chapter 1489. The Phoenix Emperor let out a long sigh. The Sea Monarch's arrow of Nirvana is truly too vicious. Even if I use all my Nirvana vitality to help you recover, the effects are still limited. Perhaps you don't need to sleep for 10,000 years, but you still need a considerable amount of time to recuperate. During this period of time, please rest and recuperate. Leave the subsequent matters to me. All right. The emperors nodded gratefully. I'll look for the Sea Monarch later and see if he has any items or methods to eliminate the arrow of Nirvana. Even if it's just a little slower, it'll be good. The Phoenix Emperor sighed. Thank you, Brother Phoenix. Emperor Rock had a look of endless gratitude. Brother Phoenix, can you see if there's any hope of Little Eagle returning? The flames of Nirvana are the best at reversing life and death and condensing one's soul. The Phoenix Emperor let out a long sigh. I can't. Little Eagle risked his life, but his soul and origins were destroyed. Emperor Rock choked for a moment before chuckling strangely. We brothers have been together for so many years. I didn't expect Little Eagle to be the first to be freed. Damn, I'm so envious of him. Ha ha ha. The Tiger Emperor laughed as well. I'll go take a look at Little Eagle when I return. No matter what, I have to help him take care of his people. Now that he has nothing to worry about, we'll have to be very busy. The Leopard Emperor licked his lips and said, Brother Phoenix, since you can't use your Nirvana vitality on Little Eagle, contribute more to us. I don't want to be unconscious forever. Please. The Phoenix Emperor smiled and said, We're all brothers. There's no need to stand on ceremony. What's mine is everyone's. I'll do my best. As he spoke, he waved his hands continuously. Countless Nirvana vitality rained down like a torrential rain, covering all the injured demons present. On the other side, countless sea creatures watched as the Sea Monarch recovered. Not only was he no longer dead, but he had also recovered a significant portion of his origin's power. With the Sea Monarch's own strength, he could barely condense a body. He stood weakly on the mountain peak and conversed with the Demon Emperor, who wielded the sea-suppressing divine scepter. The Phoenix Emperor turned around and left, saying a few words to the Demon Emperor. The Demon Emperor did not say anything and kept the sea-suppressing divine staff. After which, he turned around and walked over. His face was filled with shame. Brothers, I've come late. I'll help all of you heal now. With the combined strength of the Phoenix Emperor and I, we'll definitely be able to greatly reduce the time needed for all of you to recover. Emperor Rock and company were filled with gratitude. Thank you, boss. The Demon Emperor laughed heartily. Since you call me boss, what else is there to say? With a wave of his hands, an even larger golden dragon reappeared. Boundless vitality filled the air and enveloped the injured. The demons immediately benefited greatly. They were originally on the verge of death, but it was obvious that they had greatly improved. After the Phoenix Emperor said a few words to the Sea Monarch, he brought an interspatial ring over. Emperor Rock and the other great demons present received quite a number of special-grade treasures from the seabed. No one can cure the arrow of Nirvana. There will always be some resistance. Eat more. With your foundation cultivation, not only will you not be in a coma, but you also won't have to recover for 10,000 years. He carefully calculated and said, I think that with the combination of my Nirvana Spirit Fire, Brother Dragon's Golden Dragon Core, and these targeted spirit herbs from the Sea Monarch, all of you will be able to recover about 30% of your strength in a month. However, the rest will require a long period of recuperation. You have to be prepared. Don't be impatient. More haste makes waste. Emperor Rock was overjoyed when he heard that. He said happily, I thought that I was going to become useless and could no longer participate in the battle. That's such a pity. So there's such a turning point. That's great, that's great. The Tiger Emperor, Leopard Emperor, and the others were grateful. It's all thanks to Brother Phoenix. The Phoenix Emperor let out a long sigh. I only hope that the resentment in your hearts can be slightly reduced. This time, it's me, and Emperor Rock was displeased as he cut him off. Brother Phoenix, what are you saying? What resentment? How can there be such a thing? We brothers are loyal. There's no need to distinguish between us. The Phoenix Emperor closed his eyes and looked up at the sky for a long time before opening his eyes and looking at Emperor Rock. Really? Emperor Rock looked firmly into the Phoenix Emperor's eyes and said, I've already said that brothers are loyal. Brother Phoenix, do you not plan on being loyal to me anymore? The Phoenix Emperor nodded. I understand. I misspoke. You really think too much. It's easy to get hurt when one is too smart. Sigh, what am I saying? You don't have to worry about us. You definitely have a lot of things to deal with on your side. Now is the critical moment of carrying out the world annihilation strategy. The overall situation is more important. We will return and recuperate. As long as we recover some strength, we will immediately come to help Brother Phoenix. All right, I'll wait for you, said the Phoenix Emperor solemnly. Not long after the sea race and the demon's upper echelons chatted, Sea Monarch expressed that he needed to recuperate and return to the sea. Phoenix Emperor and Demon Monarch turned around and expressed their desire to send Emperor Rock and the others back. However, Emperor Rock and the others firmly refused. We're already half crippled. It's already reckless of us to be able to stay alive this time. Why are you wasting your energy to send us off? Although we're heavily injured, we can still rush home. Remember to send experts here as soon as you get back to take over this mountain, lest Supreme Cloud blows it up again and cause more trouble. That's right. The 4 mountains over there have already been destroyed by Little Eagle. Quickly get people to move the mountains to fill the gaps. It won't be good if we are delayed. We'll rest here for a while and recuperate before we leave. I'm afraid that we won't be able to participate in any major events for a very long time. As a member of the Demon Clan, we can't contribute to the world extermination stratagem anymore. It's really shameful. If Brother Fong and Big Brother were to personally escort us, we brothers would die of shame. Go. Don't worry about us. We're fine. On the way back, the Demon Emperor looked relieved. Brother Phoenix, did you see that? Little Peng, Little Tiger, and the rest are much more sensible now. As the ancients said, one's growth can only be seen after experiencing many things. It's the same for the demon race. The Demon Emperor was excited. I might be the first Demon Emperor to unite all the demon race on land, sea, and air. This great achievement was unprecedented and would never be replicated in the future. A hint of worry flashed across the Phoenix Emperor's eyes as he said absent-mindedly, yes. The Demon Emperor was in high spirits as he laughed. Although we've lost some men this time, the return of the ancestral demon's sacred relic proves that fate is on our side. We have more confidence in launching a counterattack on the continent, and the demon race will prosper. Who would have thought that the divine oceanic staff at the bottom of the sea would be stolen by Supreme Cloud? Not only did he steal it, but we also got lucky in the end. Ha, even the heavens are on our side. The Phoenix Emperor was still in a daze. Yes. The Demon Emperor sighed. It's a pity for Little Eagle, he shouldn't have died, sigh. The Phoenix Emperor suddenly snapped out of his daze. Brother Dragon, what did you say? The Dragon Emperor was stunned. I've been talking for so long, but you didn't hear a single word? This was a rare situation for the Phoenix Emperor. Although it was rare, the Spirit Demon Emperor was still unable to suppress the depression in his heart. Did I just make a pair of charming eyes for a blind man to see? Brother Phoenix. The Demon Emperor said unhappily. The Phoenix Emperor was a little embarrassed. Say it again. The Demon Emperor looked like he had eaten **T, controlling his temper, he said it again. The first time, he said it with indescribable excitement and joy, but the second time, he was especially depressed. The Phoenix Emperor nodded silently as he sighed in his heart. Brother Dragon, my Emperor, perhaps you really don't understand what you've lost today. What you've lost might very well be the entire demon race. But seeing how excited the Demon Emperor was, the Phoenix Emperor was not interested in tearing him down. After thinking for a long time, he suddenly asked, "Brother Dragon, there's something I've always wanted to ask you, but I was too embarrassed to ask." The Demon Emperor said, "What is it? Speak." Finally changing the topic made him feel energized. The Phoenix Emperor said in a low voice, "I just want to ask you, about the 9-life cat, did you regret it? Now that the cat is gone, and the old friend is gone, I want to hear the truth." The Demon Emperor, who was flying forward excitedly, suddenly stopped in midair. His face darkened. "Brother Phoenix, what do you mean? What truth?" The Phoenix Emperor smiled. "It was just a sudden thought, and I was just asking." The Demon Emperor said, "Can I not answer?" The Phoenix Emperor's smile was still warm. "No." The Demon Emperor, he pondered for a long time before he finally sighed and said, "Speaking of regret, how could I not regret it? After all, we are brothers. That year, we once said that we would fight side by side, share weal and woe, share wealth and fortune, and never abandon each other. However, at that time, a flame of anger rose in my heart, and I did that thing in my rage. However, since I did it, even if it was wrong, I still did it. What's the use of regretting? Since it's useless, what's there to regret?" The Phoenix Emperor was stunned. Suddenly, he was tongue-tied. "Could it be that you've always known that you were wrong?" The Demon Emperor looked at him in surprise. "What are you talking about? Isn't it clear who's right and who's wrong?" The Phoenix Emperor could no longer describe his shock. He stared at the Demon Emperor. He felt that his brain, which had always boasted of being the best in the world, had short-circuited. "Back then, I was wrong. How would I know that my son had done something inhumane? From the beginning to the end, I've let him down. I've let my brother down." The Demon Emperor said, "But, the moment I learned that my son had been killed, I really couldn't control myself. I directly suppressed the 9-life cat. Back then, I didn't kill him on the spot because of our many years of brotherhood." The Phoenix Emperor continued to stare blankly. He increasingly felt that he had been an idiot all these years. An idiot with wishful thinking. Later on, the matter became bigger and bigger. At least, it was already impossible to stop. The Demon Emperor was dispirited. "In order to stabilize the situation, I could only make the best of it and continue like this. Moreover, I'm ultimately the demon race's lord. My son is also the young lord of all the demon race, including the 9-life cat. That's not wrong, is it? The 9-life cat can kill my son today. Then, does that mean he can kill me tomorrow? If I don't kill him as a warning to the others and shock the entire demon race, where will my dignity be?" The Phoenix Emperor closed his eyes. After a long while, he asked, "Then, I asked you so many times in the past, I'm happy today. The sea-suppressing divine scepter, the demon race's most precious treasure, has returned. My achievements in life have risen to a new level. It's also worthy of us two brothers. There's no harm in sharing some intimate words. Previously, in front of outsiders, my first identity was the demon race's lord. Brother Phoenix, I can't be wrong." The Demon Emperor said seriously, "I have to consider the big picture. Everything else has to be put aside." The Phoenix Emperor fell silent. He didn't speak for a long while. The Demon Emperor was very interested. "Brother Phoenix, the world extermination stratagem is at hand. The sea-suppressing divine scepter has returned at this time. It's bound to increase the morale of our race. It's a pity that Little Peng and the others can't be used for the time being. This means that more than half of the demon race's high-level forces have been wiped out. Think about it carefully. How many people can the other races still mobilize?" The Phoenix Emperor thought for a long time and said dejectedly, "After today's incident, the peak strength of the demon race, which has reached the saint-level battle power, is only our two races. As for the other races, only the Emperor is at the beginner level of the saint level. They can't be of much use, the Demon Emperor frowned. How can you calculate this? Little Peng and the others are only injured and temporarily disabled. However, the Eagle, and Tiger clans will leave behind the elite battle power of their clans when they go to war. There should be quite a number of them at the beginner level of the Saint level. It shouldn't be difficult for these few clans to mobilize another 20 Saint level battle power, right? The Phoenix Emperor was stunned for a moment. Then, he smiled sadly. Your Majesty, you still dare to think about it. These few clans will not send any more battle power. The Demon Emperor's face darkened. What do you mean? The Phoenix Emperor looked sad. He smiled bitterly and said, Brother Dragon, let me ask you. When we were on the mountain top, I hinted to you many times about how to compensate the demon race experts who died in the hands of the sea race. Why didn't you say anything? Also, why did the sea-suppressing divine scepter fall into your hands in the end? Little Peng, Little Eagle, and the others risked their lives for it. Little Eagle even died because of it. Why didn't you say anything? Did you not see their achievements, or did you not see them at all? Or, in your eyes, there is only the sea-suppressing divine scepter and nothing else? The Phoenix Emperor looked sharply at the Demon Emperor. The Demon Emperor said indifferently, How can that be? I naturally saw the achievements of my brothers. I saw it with my eyes and remembered it in my heart. But at that time, the sea race was still at the side. Both sides had just reconciled. Who from the sea race said that they would return to the demon race? After all, they had not taken action yet. If they expressed their gratitude to Little Peng and the others on the spot and rewarded them for returning to school, wouldn't that agitate the sea race and intensify the conflict? Now is the crucial moment of the world extermination strategy. Little Peng and the others can't be counted on anymore. Do we have to push the sea race away? If the sea race goes back on their words, we will have to pay with the lives of the 10 billion demons. That is a huge price to pay. The Demon Emperor said, There are priorities. Little Peng and the others are our brothers. Naturally, we have to take care of the outsiders first. This is the overall situation. Why didn't Brother Phoenix think about this? I thought you understood. The Phoenix Emperor's lips curled into a mocking smile. But he did not say anything. My brothers. Take care of the outsiders first. Take care of the outsiders first. Next, the world annihilation strategy will focus on the dragon and phoenix race's combat strength, said the Phoenix Emperor silently. Not a single outsider can be used in the core positions. Why? The Demon Emperor was puzzled. That will drain the dragon and phoenix race's foundations. The Phoenix Emperor said sternly, That's the only way now. Or do you hope that I won't interfere in this matter? The Demon Emperor shrank his head and fell silent. He was somewhat dissatisfied. Why are you being so fierce? Haven't I treated you well enough? On the mountaintop. After a round of treatment, Emperor Rock and the others finally had the strength to move freely. One by one, they returned to their human forms and stood up. The feeling of having their feet on the ground again did not make them feel comfortable. All they could feel was their extremely weak bodies. Then, they looked at the demon corpses strewn all over the ground. No one spoke for a long time. They only felt a heart-wrenching pain. 300 mid-level Saint Monarchs, 200 high-level Saint Monarchs, and 130 half-sages, 85 sages, 8 Emperor Realm Greater Demons. Emperor Rock's calm expression suddenly contorted. 300 middle stage Great Lords, none left. 200 high-level Great Lords, all dead. 130 half-sages, all dead. There are also 85 sages. A total of 17 have died. Little Eagle has also died here. The remaining 68 sage-level demons are also heavily injured. They won't be able to recover their combat strength for at least 10,000 years. The 7 emperors can forget about attacking for at least 100 years. Without 3,000 years of recuperation, returning to their peak is just a joke. Emperor Rock turned his head and looked to the other side. Countless sea race powerhouses were working hard to move mountains. All the surviving sages turned their heads coldly and looked at the busy sea race members from afar. There was only bone-deep hatred in their eyes. The Tiger Emperor slowly stood up and said coldly, "I was almost disgusted to death by myself just now. Brother Rock, I'll remember you for the rest of my life." Emperor Rock said coldly, "Thank you for remembering me for the rest of your life. Don't forget for even a moment. Tell me, am I wrong?" "You're not wrong." The few emperors said in unison, "Without you taking the lead, everyone might not have said such disgusting words." After the first sentence, the rest is nothing. Emperor Rock sneered and said, "Who wants to be shameless? Who doesn't want to take revenge?" In the previous battle, only Little Eagle and I were injured and unable to fight anymore. After that, we didn't suffer the arrow of Nirvana. At the final juncture, Little Eagle sacrificed himself. I, who was nearby, saw it clearly. Can any of you be more sorrowful and in more pain than I am? In that situation just now, wasn't I the first to jump out to be shameless and let down the dead Little Eagle? If I let you express the hatred in your hearts and let your brothers die here, how can I let down the dead Little Eagle? In our current situation, how can we fight back against the dragons and phoenixes? How much authority can we have? If we don't care about our honor, can we still live? If we all die, we will be letting down Little Eagle. In order to cooperate with the sea race, aren't you showing great kindness by killing us troublemakers? For the sake of the overall situation, what's there to feel regret about sacrificing us weak soldiers? If we show hatred and disloyalty, what will happen? Don't you know what will happen? These 2 chapters were naturally planned long ago. However, after writing it, I put myself in the shoes of the Demon Emperor and thought about it carefully. Should I disregard everything and choose my brothers or the overall situation? If I choose my brothers, I will definitely break off relations with the sea race. If I choose the sea race, I can foresee my brothers falling out. Even if I don't consider it from Shuangwen's point of view. If it were the wise emperors in our history, what would they choose? There's no way to have the best of both worlds. If it were me, I might be emotional. Therefore, at this moment, I reflect deeply. I don't have any great achievements in my life. Perhaps this is the reason. I'm too emotional. Chapter 1490. The muscles on the Wolf Emperor's face twitched as he said fiercely, "If we don't survive, we'll be letting down Little Eagle." The Tiger Emperor acted out of righteous indignation. "Brother Rock, don't blame him." The Rock Emperor suddenly burst into tears. "Blame him? Why should I blame him? I only blame myself. Actually, my injuries are slightly lighter than Little Eagle's. Why didn't I rush over and self-destruct immediately? If I self-destructed, the Sea Emperor would definitely be dead by the time the 2 of them arrived. I'm the one who let Little Eagle down. His sacrifice was in vain." At the mention of the Eagle Emperor, all the surviving experts' faces were filled with tears. He, the Tiger Emperor suddenly sneered. What a good way to put the overall situation first. 1 brother sacrificed himself, 7 brothers are dying, and hundreds of elite subordinates are dead. He actually didn't even say a word and went to take care of the overall situation. So it turns out that us fools risked our lives to snatch the sea-suppressing divine staff was actually a stupid act. It's always him who puts the overall situation first. Who doesn't know what happened to Kitty back then? Isn't it all for his dignity as the common lord? Ever since he ascended to the throne, his matters are the major matters and the overall situation. Complying with him is disobedience and neglecting the overall situation. Wasn't the change in the Fox Emperor Palace also caused Yu'er's death? The root of it was the rumor that the child had the common lord fate of the demon race. That touched his reverse scale, causing the Fox Emperor to betray him. Now, it's Little Eagle's turn. Little Eagle sacrificed his life for the sea-suppressing divine staff. He just doesn't care what happens in the end. Guess who's next, the Leopard Emperor said hatefully. All the demons in the land, sea, and air have submitted? The complete unification of the demon alliance? An unprecedented feat? Can we obtain it by sacrificing our brothers? That's too easy. Our brothers are dying one after another. How long will it take for us to wake up to reality? The Phoenix Emperor is already trying his best to mediate. He wants to comfort us, but unfortunately, he doesn't have the qualifications. If it's not the Demon Emperor's words, they will never be justified. The Crane Emperor smiled bitterly and said something that was fair and just. The Phoenix Monarch is always the mediator, but all the benefits belong to Long Yutian. Isn't it the same this time? Even if Long Yutian himself were to console you, would you accept it? The Tiger Monarch's face was full of hatred as he gritted his teeth. At this moment, a mid-level sage of the rock race stood out and said, "Your Majesty, what should we do next? Do we still need to pledge our loyalty to Long Yutian?" Emperor Rock's gaze slowly shifted as he looked at the 6 Eagle Saints who had survived squeezed together. The 6 Eagle clan members all had cold expressions on their faces as they stood indifferently to the side. Their eyes were empty as they looked at the group of monarchs, not saying a single word. The Rock Emperor strode over and stood in front of the 6 Eagle Saints. He enunciated each word clearly. The Eagle Emperor risked his life to save our lives. Now that the Eagle Emperor was gone, I will let these 6 Eagle clan brothers help us make a decision. The 6 Eagle race turned around and looked at him blankly. We'll listen to you on what to do next. You can decide however you want. It can be any decision. Hot tears suddenly rolled down the eyes of the 6 Eagle race saints. One of them cried and gritted his teeth as he said word by word, "From now on, the Eagle race and the Sea race, the Dragon Emperor, and the Phoenix Emperor, are irreconcilable enemies. As long as there's a chance to kill them, we will go all out. We won't stop until we die. Either we die, or they die." The high-ranking Eagle Saint said word by word with tears in his eyes. From today onwards, the Eagle race will no longer belong to the Demon Alliance. There was silence. All the remaining experts had solemn expressions on their faces. The atmosphere was unprecedentedly heavy. The sea breeze howled as it blew across the sky. Emperor Rock's expression was solemn as he said indifferently, "Brothers, do you have any objections to the Eagle race's decision?" There was silence. None of them spoke. Emperor Rock frowned and asked again, "Brothers, do you have any objections to the Eagle race's decision?" They had to have a concrete answer. The Tiger Emperor gritted his teeth and said, "I don't. I don't. I don't either. No. Leave the Demon Alliance. Even if our bodies are smashed to pieces, our clans are wiped out, and all of us are dead, we must vent our anger today." The Leopard Emperor sneered. "I finally understand. Mao, Little Fox, and the others understand better than us. They would rather die fighting than for the so-called big picture. Now, it's Little Eagle's turn. He really fought to the death for the demon race, and died without a complete corpse. Then, the Demon King immediately helped his enemy to recover from his injuries, and shook hands with him. Such a demon alliance, such brothers. What's there to miss? The so-called big picture is just his big picture," the Leopard Emperor said fiercely. All the saints present had fierce expressions on their faces. It was as if a flame was burning in their hearts. The Wolf Emperor suddenly let out a long roar that shook the sky. Hot tears rolled down his cheeks as he did not say a word. The 6 Eagle Saints' eyes were filled with tears as they cried bitterly. "Emperor! Did you see that? We must avenge you. According to the rules of the Eagle race, when an emperor dies, there must be a brother to accompany him. But we can't accompany the emperor to the netherworld now. We still have to take revenge. If we don't take revenge, even if we accompany the emperor, we won't be able to show our face. Once we take revenge, we'll immediately go. Emperor, please wait a moment. The netherworld is a step behind. On the mountain, endless hatred spread and rose. The surroundings were busy. The sea race was quite a distance away from this mountain. Furthermore, everyone knew that the demons on this mountain were great demons of the current era. They had a deep feud with the sea race that could not be reconciled. Who would dare to approach and court death? Even though they heard the commotion, the boundless sea race still acted rashly. Emperor Rock took out a large pile of natural treasures from his interspatial ring and swallowed them in large mouthfuls, circulating his energy to digest them. Then, a fierce glint flashed in his eyes. Everyone, use your remaining strength to send me off. I'm going to the sky now. The demons? I'm going to look for Supreme Yellow Cloud. Emperor Rock took a deep breath and sneered. Why did Supreme Cloud steal the sea-suppressing divine staff? Why did he abandon it here? It's one thing for the sea-suppressing divine staff to be overburdened, but I believe that Supreme Cloud didn't even want to take the sea-suppressing divine staff away. He only used it to push the boat along with the current, causing an extreme battle between the demons and the sea race. The facts have proven that he succeeded. This deadlock was completely set up by Supreme Cloud. Supreme Cloud's abandonment of the divine staff has far-reaching effects. He definitely wouldn't have failed to consider the current situation and should have a backup plan. Now, we need to cooperate. We need a powerful ally. Emperor Rock took a deep breath. It's inevitable for us to cooperate with him. Otherwise, we won't have the chance to join forces with Longfeng to avenge our brothers. The Tiger Emperor was very displeased with the Rock Emperor's words. He pursed his lips and said, "It's mostly Supreme Cloud's fault that we ended up like this, yet you still want to work with him? Are you out of your mind?" Emperor Rock snorted coldly. "You're the one who's out of your mind. Why didn't he harm us? Shouldn't he? Regardless of reason or emotion, no matter which aspect, they should have harmed us. Even if we put aside his identity as a human, shouldn't he harm us just because of Kitty and Foxy? Now that I think about it, we were wrong a long time ago. We should have regretted it a long time ago. The reason why we can't figure it out is that the losses never really implicated us. We are all despicable people who have no regard for morality. Don't you know how great the difference in strength between humans and us is? Supreme Cloud attacked repeatedly and risked his life. Even though we're enemies, I don't hate him. On the contrary, I admire him." Crane Emperor agreed. "That's right. Supreme Cloud is indeed the best partner now, especially with our relationship with Kitty and Foxy. We also have a common enemy, Dragon and Phoenix. If we want revenge now, we can only cooperate with Supreme Cloud. With our combat strength alone, we won't be able to withstand a single blow. But if we cooperate with Supreme Cloud..." Tiger Emperor was a little worried. The Eagle Brothers need Supreme Cloud's cooperation, but we have to support him. Emperor Rock took a deep breath. If the Eagle Brothers are allowed to fight Dragon and Phoenix without Little Eagle around, I'm afraid the entire race will be wiped out. Are you going to watch them throw their lives away? We can't be by their side forever. None of the monarchs had any objections when he said that. The eyes of the Eagle Saints lit up. Emperor Rock was right. Although they had left the Demon Alliance, the possibility of Emperor Rock and the others truly falling out with the Demon Alliance was still 50-50. The true enemy was the Eagle race. However, after losing the Eagle Emperor, the Eagle race didn't have the qualifications to fight the Dragon and Phoenix races head-on. However, with Supreme Cloud's backing, there wouldn't be any problems. Revenge wasn't courting death. This was an extremely safe method. Emperor Rock, who had slightly recovered from his injuries, soared into the sky. He was a peak emperor of the demon race with a wingspan of millions of kilometers. At this moment, he was thousands of feet in the sky and almost fell. His injuries were too severe, and the claw he had lost previously had yet to be reconstructed. He stood on the cloud for a while, but no one came. He could only ask the cloud, "Is Lord Supreme Cloud here? I would like to meet you." At this moment, he even felt a little nervous. He was a little excited. The mysterious yellow cloud supremacy was an incomparably frightening opponent. However, it was precisely because of this that he was an extremely reliable ally. It was because he valued his allies that he was so terrifying in the eyes of his enemies. Emperor Rock was even looking forward to cooperating with Yun Yang. An ally who never needs to worry about his back. We once thought that we had one, but only now do we know that we don't. This reality is truly tragic, a thought flashed across Emperor Rock's mind. Could you be? This chapter was written very nervously. Was it right to write it this way? He didn't have much confidence. Chapter 1491. Of course, Yun Yang had not left. The main reason was that he could not leave even if he wanted to. There was no other reason. His injuries this time were too severe, beyond imagination and unprecedented. If it were not for the fact that he could not continue, did you think that Yun Yang would be willing to give away the oceanic suppressing staff that was already in his possession? Yun Yang had initially planned to snatch it back after the war between the two clans was over and its ownership was about to be decided. That was Yun Yang's original plan. However, Yun Yang's injuries were too severe under the Sea clan's desperate attack. As a result, the last part of the plan did not go according to the planned direction. After giving away the staff and diverting all the demons' attention, Yun Yang took the opportunity to escape. Although it was said to be a rabbit's escape, it was actually using the last bit of energy he had to support himself to transform into a cloud and wander around the battlefield. Yun Yang truly felt that his body was like a sack of rice that had been emptied. Not only was he emptied, he was also limp and weak like he had never been before. He tried his best to hide, not daring to move. It was because of this that he heard and saw everything. To be fair, the subsequent development of the matter was far beyond Yun Yang's expectations. It was completely different from what he had envisioned. According to Yun Yang's original assumption, the ownership of the oceanic suppressing staff was bound to cause internal strife between the demon race and the Sea clan. This was one of his goals. As long as there was internal strife, the demon race would not have the demon emperor or the phoenix emperor to watch over them. Facing the Sea clan that had almost turned out in full force, the demon race would be alone and difficult to gain the upper hand. If one or two of the demon race's saints died here, the two sides would develop into a deep grudge. No matter who won or lost, as humans, they would naturally gain a huge advantage. Yun Yang had even planned to use countless follow-up tactics after the internal strife between the demon race and the Sea clan, such as instigating, framing, ambushing, and so on. He would make sure that the two clans would have an irreconcilable blood feud. What Yun Yang did not expect was that while he had guessed the beginning and the middle part correctly, the latter part and the last part of the game had gone off the beaten track, going further and further off the mark. It had completely deviated from Yun Yang's prediction and turned into a whole new version. And this version was 100 times more exciting and satisfying than the original script he had envisioned. The demon race and the sea race fought as he had expected, and the intensity was far beyond his imagination. Once Neptune's perishable arrow was unleashed, there was no resistance. The demon race suffered heavy casualties in an instant, and the Eagle Emperor, who was the emperor of the race, had even died in battle. It was tragic and heart-wrenching, but Yun Yang was happy to see it happen. It was not that Yun Yang was black-hearted, they were enemies. If it were not for the death of a demonic expert like the Falcon Emperor, how could the grudge between them not be resolved? But from then on, things started to change. Initially, Yun Yang had thought that the death of the Falcon Sovereign would cause Sea Emperor to be severely injured. Emperor Demon and Emperor Phoenix would be arriving soon. Even if Emperor Rock and the others were strangely injured and could not move, they would not be able to fight anymore. However, with the arrival of the Dragon and Phoenix Sovereigns, how could Yun Yang not strike out in anger when he saw the casualties on the ground and the death of the Falcon Sovereign? If that was the case, it would be impossible for the two sides to not become mortal enemies. However, the subsequent development of the situation was once again beyond Yun Yang's expectations. The arrival of Emperor Demon and Emperor Phoenix did not anger the Sea clan and start a massacre, Nor did they actively rescue Emperor Tiger, Emperor Rock, and the other demon sovereigns. What the demon sovereign did was actually heal Sea Emperor. Healing Sea Emperor who had killed his brothers and countless subordinates. Based on this incident alone, Yun Yang, who had always believed in his brotherhood, felt disbelief at first, followed by disbelief and then shock. And then, he remembered a phrase, a thing. His heart was bitterly disappointed. The demon sovereign's actions would definitely chill the hearts of the other sovereigns. What was left of the demon sovereign who had lost his brotherhood and the hearts of the demons? Betrayal, of course. Before the demon sovereign and phoenix sovereign left, the phoenix sovereign's meaningful glance made Yun Yang's heart beat like a drum. A thought that would never have occurred to Yun Yang was growing bit by bit. Yun Yang had never doubted his brothers. Whether it was the brothers of the Nine Supremes in the past or the current Shi Wuchen and Qian duo of the Palace of Nine Supremes, they all valued brotherhood more. In the past, the Nine Supremes had helped the kings of the underworld mostly because of this reason. Everyone shared the same thought. Therefore, when the Fox Emperor and Cat Sovereign treated the Demon Sovereign and the Demon Sovereign, Yun Yang had never taken the initiative to persuade the two sovereigns to turn against the demon race and become enemies with the Demon Sovereign, even if this was more in line with Yun Yang's interests. However, he would not do so. That was why the demonic emperor's actions today were so out of Yun Yang's expectations that he dared not believe it. Yun Yang heard the discussion of Emperor Rock and the others with his own ears, as well as the decision of the various races to withdraw from the Demon League. However, he still did not act rashly. On one hand, it was because his injuries were too severe, but on the other hand, it was because the word brother meant a lot to Yun Yang. Perhaps if he went down, it would actually be a trap, and he would probably fall here, his body and Tao disappearing. After all, his injuries were too severe. Therefore, although Emperor Rock called out repeatedly, Yun Yang did not appear. If the matter was really promising, there was no hurry. Supreme Cloud, I know you're here. Please show yourself. Emperor Rock appeared very calm. Even though he was heavily injured, he could not stand steadily in the air. He swayed unsteadily as he said in a deep voice, "You were nearby, so you saw everything that happened today. Under your schemes, my brothers suffered heavy casualties. We are enemies, so I am not in the position to blame you. However, it is all fate and fate. However, in terms of position, it's only right for you to be here. However, the actions of the Demon Emperor have caused us to feel extremely disappointed. After this cooperation, my brothers, Tiger, Leopard, and I will hide in the forest forever and never come out again. We have decided not to participate in the war between the demon race and the bound of universe. However, if we want to vent our anger, it's not only for ourselves, but mainly for the fallen Eagle Sovereign. You can decide whether to cooperate or not." Yin Yang still did not say a word, as if he was long gone. Emperor Rock sighed. "I know you have concerns, and your injuries are not light. You should be careful. We'll wait for your reply on the mountain below. We'll only wait for 4 hours. In 4 hours, the sages of the Dragon and Phoenix clans should arrive." With that said, Emperor Rock descended. The moment he landed, he staggered and sat on a rock, grimacing in pain. "How is it?" Tiger Emperor asked. "As expected." Supreme Cloud didn't reply immediately, Emperor Rock said. He was also heavily injured this time. It's not surprising that he has concerns. Let's wait a while. The demon sovereigns nodded silently. All the experts of the demon race silently took out many treasures from their spatial rings and stuffed them into their mouths to replenish their depleted demonic energy. Yin Yang, who had been hovering in the sky, was not only watching what was happening below, but he was also healing his injuries as quickly as possible. Although he had become the secondary enemy at this point in time, be it the Dragon Emperor, the Phoenix Emperor, the Sea Emperor, or even Emperor Peng and the other demon sovereigns below, they would all treat him as their top priority. It was absolutely necessary for him to recover from his injuries and recover to his peak state as soon as possible. Although the injuries Yun Yang had suffered this time were more severe than before, his recovery speed was much faster than Emperor Rock and the others. Other than the severe injuries of Tiger Emperor and the others, the main reason was the subsequent effects of the Arrow of Nirvana. Although Tiger Emperor and the others' external injuries had improved greatly under the help of the Dragon and Phoenix Sovereign's Primordial Dragon and Phoenix Fire, their demonic energy had not recovered at all. As a result, when the 4 hours mentioned by Emperor Rock were almost over, Yun Yang had already recovered 30 to 40% of his cultivation base. On the other hand, the defeated troops below only looked slightly better, and their demonic energy was still at the bottom. However, none of the sovereigns left. They had been quietly healing on the spot, obviously waiting for Yun Yang's reply. Yun Yang sensed carefully and confirmed that there was no aura of the demon sovereigns and phoenix sovereigns within a radius of 10,000 miles. As for Sea Sovereign, Yun Yang did not believe that Emperor Rock and the others would collude with Sea Sovereign, a mortal enemy, to plot against him. According to the current state of Emperor Rock and the others, if Yun Yang had any evil intentions, the only outcome would be for him to come down and capture all the experts of the demon race in one fell swoop. Therefore, Emperor Rock and the others were taking a huge risk here. They were betting their lives on a bet that they would definitely lose. It was precisely because of this that Yun Yang was willing to take the gamble. Even if the demon race was suffering from internal strife, the human race was still weak. If they had such an additional group of allies, it would be akin to a windfall from the sky. If it was done properly, not only would it greatly increase the human race's chances of winning, but it would also reverse the situation and turn the tables on both sides. It's almost been 4 hours. Could Supreme Cloud have already left? Tiger Sovereign looked at Emperor Rock. Emperor Rock's expression was dark, but he was actually thinking, could I have guessed wrongly? Has Supreme Cloud really left? The Eagle Race's saints also looked disappointed. Without Yun Yang's help, the Eagle Race's counterattack plan would have no chance of success. It would be akin to a moth flying into a flame, courting their own destruction. Just as the demons were thinking about it, a chuckle suddenly rang out. The demons immediately looked in the direction of the sound. Behind them, on the edge of the cliff, a familiar figure in purple stood against the wind. The newcomer had a handsome face and a tall figure. It was the Heaven and Earth Supreme Cloud, looking over with a smile. Your Majesty Emperor Rock, Your Majesty Tiger Sovereign. Yun Yang said apologetically, I was seriously injured just now and found it difficult to move. I didn't dare come down rashly. Please forgive me. With Yun Yang's words, the demons felt that he was being honest. Even though everyone was seriously injured, they still had the advantage in numbers. It would be strange if Yun Yang didn't have such concerns. That's only right. Emperor Rock laughed, feeling relieved. Lord Supreme Cloud, do you have any thoughts on my suggestion? Yun Yang smiled faintly and said, cooperation is naturally good. However, with our current condition, it's obviously not a good time to cooperate. Speaking of which, at least half of everyone's current condition should be attributed to me, Yun Yang said. I'll try to help everyone recover first before we talk about anything else. Help us recover? How arrogant. How do you plan to help us recover? Even the Phoenix Monarch's Nirvana Life Force and the Dragon Monarch's Dragon Origin Force are merely stabilizing our injuries and preserving our lives. We'll be fine. You're going to use the same trick from that day and use some sort of smokescreen to deceive us. With our current physical condition, we won't be able to withstand the medicinal pills that you casually took out. Before the emperors could react, Yun Yang waved his hand abruptly and a barrier enveloped all the demonic beasts within it. Then, waves of extremely pure innate spiritual chi slowly emerged from within the huge barrier and gushed out like a fountain. With such a huge amount of pure innate energy flowing into their bodies, all the demons instantly felt refreshed, and every single pore on their body was brimming with life force. Every inch of their skin seemed to be in joy, so comfortable that they were almost trembling. Even every strand of hair seemed to feel the extreme comfort. Endless pure spiritual chi poured into their bodies in a way that resisted the influence of the arrow of perishment. The main reason why the arrow of perishment was so domineering was that the victim could no longer absorb the spiritual chi of heaven and earth for their own use. Once a cultivator was isolated from the spiritual chi of heaven and earth, in addition to being severely injured, it was impossible for them to recover. Although the Phoenix Sovereign's Nirvana Flame and the Dragon Sovereign's Primordial Draconic Force had greatly healed and even nourished the Tiger Sovereign and the others' physical bodies and greatly improved their injuries, they had made up for the fact that the physical bodies related to the arrow of perishment could not absorb the spiritual chi of heaven and earth. In fact, this was also the main reason why the arrow of perishment was so difficult to heal. It required countless efforts to wear it down bit by bit before it could be recovered. Yin Yang had been observing from the side for a long time. It was because he had seen through this that he had set up such a sealed environment to release pure innate spiritual chi, forcefully resisting the influence of the arrow of perishment and infusing the spiritual chi into the demons' bodies. In this way, the Tiger Sovereign and the others could use the massive amount of innate spiritual chi to wear down the influence of the arrow of perishment bit by bit and achieve a true healing effect. A moment later, the saint rulers of the demonic race, who were experienced and knowledgeable, lifted their heads to look at Yun Yang in shock as they felt the massive amount of pure spiritual chi flowing into their bodies. It was already a great feat for Yun Yang to be able to mobilize a massive amount of spiritual chi to help them heal their injuries with targeted methods. However, what shocked the demonic emperors even more was, what kind of spiritual chi was this? Even if it was innate spiritual chi, it did not have the effect that they were feeling now, did it not? Not only was the spiritual chi extremely pure, it actually contained a dense purple chi. Upon closer inspection, the purple chi actually contained traces of Taoist rhyme. This Taoist rhyme had further worn down the arcane seal of the arrow of perishment, allowing more and more spiritual chi to flow into their bodies to repair their dantian and repair their meridians. It had not been long since the spiritual chi had nourished their physical bodies, but they already felt exceptionally comfortable. Although their injuries had not healed much and their demonic energy had not recovered much, it was no different from seeing the hope of a complete recovery. This was an immediate effect, and it was conceivable that they would recover in the future. As long as Yun Yang was willing to help, they could recover completely within a few days. This was something that they dared not even imagine or wish for. However, it had become a reality that was close at hand. The saint rulers of the demonic race were in high spirits. Their gazes towards Yun Yang were glowing, and even their smiles were exceptionally friendly. After all, no one was willing to cultivate for 10,000 years just to recover. Moreover, it was still unknown whether or not they could really recover to their full state after 10,000 years of training. Yun Yang looked amicable as he continued to release spiritual chi. At the same time, he felt the demon's increasingly friendly attitude, and he was overjoyed. It looked like there was a chance. His observation for so long was not in vain. He had also used the influence of the art of sealing heaven as a reference, which allowed him to execute a targeted strategy at this moment. Using the spiritual chi in his deific consciousness space and a relatively sealed space, he allowed the demons to be passively filled with spiritual chi and cleansed their meridians. As expected, it could eliminate the effect of the arrow of perishment. In addition, he could at least save a lot of chi of vitality. In order to deal with Dongfang Haoran and the other old geezers, he had used up a lot of chi of vitality. If it was not necessary, it was better to reduce the consumption. In less than an hour, the originally exhausted demons were all glowing with radiance. They all felt that their strength had actually recovered by more than 5%. This was no longer a miracle, but a divine miracle. With the recovery of their strength, it was no longer difficult to gather demonic energy. More importantly, under the continuous state of the mystical spiritual chi, the shackles of the arrow of perishment had mostly disappeared. As long as they continued at this pace, they would be able to recover within a few years, even without Yun Yang's mystical spiritual chi. Whether it was the cultivation of demonic energy or spiritual source, the greatest fear was nothing more than the depletion of one's strength and being sealed by a mystical skill. The art of sealing heaven and the arrow of perishment were the same. However, the effect of the arrow of perishment was one step further, sealing the physical body and demonic source. The three were carried out simultaneously, and it was extremely vicious. However, it was also because of this that it could threaten and even kill saint-level masters. Now that the demons' dried-up dantians had recovered half of their demonic energy and the seal had been mostly broken, it was equivalent to water with roots. And since there was a root and a spring, a little would naturally become a lot. Sooner or later, it would be able to fill up to form a well, overflow to form a lake, and the lake would become a sea. And this process would only get faster and faster. Your Majesty Emperor Rock, how is your recovery now? Yin Yang asked. I've already recovered 10% of my strength. Emperor Rock was naturally grateful and thanked him profusely. Thank you, Lord Supreme Cloud, for your help. Since everyone has improved greatly, shall we change places to discuss the details of our cooperation? Yin Yang said, there's demonic chi rising from afar. It should be the experts of the dragon and phoenix races. That should be the case. Emperor Rock frowned and said, where shall we talk then? This was a place where negotiations were conducted with great care. Is it on your side? Or on my side? Generally speaking, whoever was on the side represented the stronger party in the negotiation and could often take the lead in the negotiation. Emperor Rock was undoubtedly hesitant. This was because Emperor Rock was unwilling to go to Yun Yang's Fox Emperor city from the bottom of his heart. The Falcon Emperor had just perished, so it was inevitable that he would be saddened when he thought of the Fox Emperor and feline ancestor. In addition, he had many concerns in his heart. No matter what, Yun Yang had a connection with the Fox Emperor, so everything was easier to negotiate. However, if he were to face Dongfang Haoran or even be harbored evil intentions by Dongfang Haoran and the others, he would not even be able to escape. However, Yin Yang was afraid that he would not be at ease if he were to return to his lair or find another place for the demon race. Seeing this, Yin Yang was even more certain. The fact that the demon race's experts were worried about this undoubtedly proved how important this cooperation was to them. Everyone here is the Fox Emperor's brothers. Coincidentally, so am I. Then, we're family. Yin Yang smiled. I wonder which emperor's territory is closer to here. Let's go there to talk. It's the cheapest way. Everyone's time is precious. Let's delay as little as possible. Emperor Rock, who had heard the word of brother and Fox Emperor, immediately looked a little embarrassed. Look at how generous he is. Look at us. We are so petty. He said with a red face, why don't we go to the Wolf Emperor's territory? Cough, 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 he glared at his brothers sternly. Don't embarrass yourself later. All the emperors lowered their heads and coughed, feeling a little ashamed. I'll bring you guys to fly. Please point me in a direction, Your Majesty, Wolf Emperor, Yin Yang said with a smile when he felt that he had recovered 50% of his cultivation base. All right. With a shake of his body, Yin Yang transformed into Emperor Rock's appearance. He swept up a monstrous demonic wind and carried Emperor Rock and the other 70-odd experts of the demon race. They flew over the sea with a whistling sound. Emperor Rock and the others were dumbfounded again. This was because Yin Yang had transformed into Emperor Rock. No matter how hard the demons tried to detect him, they could not sense anything unusual. It was as if Emperor Rock's true body had appeared. All of them sighed inwardly. It was no wonder that no demons noticed Yin Yang when he was a saint venerable back then. It turned out that he did have the capital to do so. What could they do? Emperor Rock's eyeballs almost popped out of their sockets. Am I really not looking in the mirror? The wind and clouds howled in the distance. A group of silver dragons and a group of golden dragons flew over and met Yin Yang and the others. All the experts of the dragon race stood still at the same time and bowed. Greetings, Your Majesty Emperor Rock. Yin Yang ignored them and snorted coldly. He flew away, leaving the group of experts of the dragon race there and looking at each other. It had to be said that the saints of the demon race felt a sense of relief. This bunch of grandsons should be treated like this. Bullsh *T. All the marine creatures that emerged from the sea were immediately suppressed by Yun Yang the moment they popped their heads out of the water. Along the way, the entire sea was filled with white bellies. Including ordinary cultivators, at least millions of marine creatures had been killed. The corpses on the surface of the sea were so white that one couldn't see the end of them. The demon sages gritted their teeth, their faces filled with hatred. Damn it, I should have slaughtered them like this. Why didn't I do it earlier? Killing them was still too light, it was better to kill them all. Behind him, a group of sea race experts jumped out and cursed, since we've already formed an alliance, the grudge between us has been resolved. Why did you suddenly attack us? Emperor Rock, you are too inhumane. Yin Yang laughed maniacally, ignoring him and leaving at a leisurely pace. It was obvious that Wu Yen only had one thing in mind: come and chase me if you can. None of the sea race experts chased after them, but all of them were gritting their teeth, almost bursting with anger. There were 6,000 words in this chapter, making up for yesterday's loss. Brothers, please don't blame me. Amp, GT. Chapter 1493. After another 2 days and 1 night, Yun Yang tore the space apart and returned to Fox Emperor City. He saw Dongfang Haoran and the rest who were almost sick from anxiety. Where did you go, kid? Why did you take so long this time? There was a huge battle the day before yesterday. Did you do it? Yes, why did it cause such a huge commotion? We didn't dare to go near. I felt an extremely terrifying force. It was a force that could kill a saint. Who did it? Was it the Phoenix Emperor or the Demon Emperor? Was it directed at you? Thank goodness you came back safe and sound. We almost died of anxiety. Shangguan Lingxiu and Ji Lingxi expressed their dissatisfaction as well. Why didn't you bring us along? There was no news at all. We were worried about you. If it wasn't for the few old men dragging us along and not letting us go, we would have gone long ago. All in all, it was a wave of condemnation that rendered Yun Yang speechless. In spite of this, Yun Yang was not in a hurry at all. He waited for the chatter to die down before he snorted and sat in his chair. He even crossed his legs and looked pleased with himself. I haven't done much these past few days. At most, I've only done 2 things. The first thing he did was to steal the sea-suppressing divine scepter from the sea and give it to the demon race. You said that the demon race and the sea race are one big family, but I don't know what they were thinking. Just for a stick, they really went all out. In short, the demon race and the sea race fought over the divine scepter, and both sides suffered heavy casualties. The demon race lost many of their top forces, the Eagle King even fell, and the Sea Emperor also paid a heavy price. The terrifying power that you sensed was from the Sea Emperor. But don't worry, this move of his can only be used once, and he won't be able to use it again for the rest of his life. Moreover, after this battle, his battle strength is already set in stone, and he is no longer a threat. Dongfang Haoran and the rest's mouths turned into duck eggs and did not close for a long time. As for the second matter, it's even simpler. It's about. I've brought a few more allies to the human tribe. Not too many, just 7 pinnacle sages and more than 60 sages of different levels. That's about it. You must be surprised, Shiman Fanfu was speechless. Python 9's mouth gaped open. After a long while, he said, You must be joking, right? Even the entire Xianhuang human race and Tian Fa Holy Land don't have so many sages. Where did you get them from? That was impossible. This wasn't a pleasant surprise at all. Instead, it was horrifying, or perhaps, suspicious. Yin Yang chuckled and slowly recounted the entire incident to the group. A long time after Yun Yang had finished speaking, no one made a sound. After another 15 minutes of silence, Meng Jiao finally let out a desolate sigh and said, This matter is very bizarre and shocking. However, what surprised me the most is that the Phoenix Emperor actually did not stop him. With his intelligence, he should not have failed to consider this. Dongfang Haoran and the other 3 palace lords did not make a sound, obviously deep in thought. Meng Jiao said, based on my understanding of the Phoenix Emperor, even if he can't solve this matter perfectly, he can at least resolve the resentment in the hearts of Emperor Rock and the others. This is something he can do and should do. He can see the disappointment in Emperor Rock and the others, and the impact of this matter is so great that it can affect the entire demon race. How could he not deal with it actively? How could he be so careless? Yin Yang frowned when he heard that. Indeed, he had been so excited because the surprise had come too abruptly and the development of the matter had been too ideal. All he could think about was the almost bursting sense of accomplishment, so he had really neglected this point. Based on Yin Yang's understanding of the Phoenix Emperor from their past encounters, all of this should not have happened no matter what. Even if it was for the sake of the bigger picture to not kill or even save Sea King, even if it was Demon Emperor Qian Gang who made the decision and it was difficult for the Phoenix Emperor to speak up, even with the huge gain of the divine oceanic suppressing needle, and even considering the fact that Emperor Rock and the others were severely injured and had no influence on the subsequent battle, the Phoenix Emperor's action of ignoring the emotional turmoil of Emperor Rock and the others was still extremely strange. From the release of Nirvana vitality at the beginning, to the indifferent words of comfort, and then leaving with the Demon Emperor, this situation was already very strange, too abnormal. If the Phoenix Emperor's intelligence and emotional quotient were only this, how could he enjoy the title of the wisest person in the demon realm? Would he really be so unwise? Would he only care about the benefits in front of him and ignore the Demon League's collapse? How could he not notice and not care about the possibility of Emperor Rock and the others betraying him? Yin Yang frowned and asked himself again and again in his heart. Now that he thought about it, there were too many strange things that were completely illogical. Especially at the end, when he left with the Demon Emperor, it did not seem like he was accompanying him at all. Instead, it seemed like he was monitoring his departure. Logically speaking, the 2 rulers of the Demon League should have done the most at that time. One should have returned to preside over the overall situation, while the other had to stay behind to settle down and comfort Emperor Rock and the others. At the very least, the resentment had to be eliminated. With the Phoenix Emperor's intelligence, he would definitely have considered this. However, the Phoenix Emperor did not do so. Not only did he not do so, but he also allowed it to develop. Instead, he was suspected of adding fuel to the fire. The Demon Emperor is also the Dragon Emperor. This is a fellow who is blinded by power. Everything he does is for benefits. Yes, it should be his own interests that are his first priority. He's also stubborn and self-opinionated. To put it nicely, he's dictatorial and domineering. To put it bluntly, he's short-sighted. He's only suitable to be a martial world hero, but he's not suitable to be the Demon League's top king at all. Impulsive, violent, disregarding the consequences. He only sees what's in front of him. He's even heartless and heartless. He doesn't have the demeanor of a king. It's impossible for the Phoenix Emperor not to see these flaws. If he sincerely wanted to assist the Demon Emperor, the Phoenix Emperor should have wiped up everything that the Demon Emperor had done. Besides, the Phoenix Emperor undoubtedly has the ability and prestige to do so. As Yin Yang thought about it, he asked himself and mumbled to himself, but he never did that. He only stood firmly on the Demon Emperor's side. Then, he allowed the Demon Emperor to do whatever he wanted. After that, he reconciled the matter and stabilized it. From the time the Demon League's sovereigns became sworn brothers, they roamed together, did things together, until the brothers separated and returned to their respective tribes. Then, many things happened in between. A few auxiliary tribes that weren't very important were destroyed, until the Nine Lives Cat incident 10,000 years ago. Based on what I know about the Nine Lives Cat's past, if the Phoenix Emperor wanted to, he clearly had the ability to stop it. In fact, the tragedy wouldn't have happened at all, but he didn't. Then, the matter of the Fox Emperor and the Cat Ancestor, the Phoenix Emperor knew everything about it, but he still didn't do anything. The demon race's acknowledged 3 wise men include the Phoenix Emperor, the Fox Emperor, and the cat ancestors Bai Yi mysteriously died in the hands of the demon crown prince, causing the demon emperor and the cat ancestor to fall out. Then, the blood soul mountain of the fox emperor's lineage was marginalized, and finally, the fox clan was almost annihilated. Was this premeditated? A few days ago, the divine ocean staff's sudden appearance, the Phoenix Emperor was the first to propose to snatch it. But in reality, he didn't do anything. However, Emperor Rock and the others were all on the side and saw the Phoenix Emperor's attitude. This seems to be the most important reason for the war the day before yesterday. Then, when the sovereigns of the various clans were all severely injured, the Phoenix Emperor's behavior was even stranger. Yun Yang sucked in a long breath and said, "The Phoenix Emperor most likely has an important plan. And he's definitely not of one mind with the Demon Emperor. But it's hard to say why he did it." Beigong Lioli said, "Do you think he did it for the position of the demon race's leader? The Phoenix Emperor wanted to usurp the throne?" Everyone's eyes lit up. Yun Yang shook his head. "I don't think that's the case. If he wanted to usurp the throne, he would have had too many chances. With his ability and prestige, he could have done it long ago." The group was utterly confused. Then, what was the Phoenix Emperor's purpose? No matter how they thought about it, there was no conclusion to speak of. After all, Yun Yang, who understood the Phoenix Emperor the most among them, only had a superficial understanding of him. There were no clues to be found. The only thing they could be sure of was that the Phoenix Emperor's actions must have a deeper meaning. However, at this stage, they could only conclude it as an unsolved mystery. They knew that the Phoenix Emperor had an ulterior motive, but they did not know what it was, so it was difficult to think of a way to deal with it. The Phoenix Emperor's current target is still at the level of the demon race and sea clan. It hasn't threatened the human race yet. Besides, as of now, it's only beneficial to the human race, so we don't have to think too much about it for now. If the Phoenix Emperor has ulterior motives, the first to bear the brunt will be the demon race itself. We're overthinking it now, it's too much of a worry." Yin Yang paused and said, "At least based on the current situation, it's much more advantageous for us. Our chances of winning have increased greatly. What we should carefully consider now is the conditions of the demon race's emperors. The conditions that Emperor Rock and the others raised are rather lenient and not difficult. This is because the alliance is only limited to humans and eagles. The status of both sides is similar to the fox race, cat race, and human race. They are all dominated by humans. As for Emperor Rock and the others, they'll secretly help the eagle race. This means that on the surface, they'll still be enemies with us. However, they'll help the eagle race in all their operations. Even if both sides have to fight, they won't kill them." Yin Yang said, "Other than the concerns of Emperor Rock and the others, this is mostly because of me. Just like the Fox Emperor and the Cat Emperor, if it's not necessary, they won't take the initiative to bear the reputation of a betrayal. This is already very good." Dongfang Haoran praised repeatedly, agreeing with Yun Yang's actions. Yun Yang had always been considerate for Emperor Rock and the others and had even resolved their biggest worry. He had always given them leeway. How could Emperor Rock and the others not return the favor? They would naturally show goodwill to the human race in the future. Forcing oneself to do something and doing one's best were two completely different attitudes, as well as completely different combat strength. If that's the case, it's promising. Shimen Fengfu also felt relieved. Eagle, rock, tiger, leopard, wolf, bear, crane, and eagle could be said to be the strongest combat race in the demon race after the dragon race and phoenix race. Once these 8 races were gone, only the dragon race and phoenix race were left, followed by the snake race, ox race, monkey race, elephant race, horse race, dog race, and so on. Yes, there was also the sea race, which had just returned, but their strength was greatly reduced. At this point, it could be said that the demon race's overall strength had been cut in half. How could the 4 sovereigns not be overjoyed? The 4 of them felt that the pressure had lessened. Everyone knew that Emperor Rock and the others' alliance with the Eagle race in name was just a smokescreen. The hatred between the Eagle race and the Sea race, as well as the Dragon race and Phoenix race, was as deep as the sea. They could not live under the same sky, so how could they not think of revenge? As long as they took revenge, they would go to the extreme. As long as the war started, Emperor Rock and the others would definitely not stand by and watch. What was the difference between them and participating in the war? In this way, our chances of victory have more than doubled. Everyone was full of praises. The only regret is that the overall situation is still disadvantageous to me. With the return of the Sea race, the follow-up of the Demon race's apocalypse strategy will be even smoother. Yin Yang felt a little regretful. That's something that can't be helped. You've already done the best you could at that time. It's wishful thinking to ask for more. Python 9 asked, right, how long will it take for Emperor Rock and the others to fully recover their strength? This is also a key. See, Emperor's arrow of perishment is powerful, killing countless experts with a single strike. Will it take time for the injured Tiger Emperor and the others to heal? Yin Yang thought about it and said, when I met with Emperor Rock and the others, I used my unique mystic art to try and help them heal. The effect was very good, and they showed great improvement. The treatment that originally needed thousands of years to nearly 10,000 years has been greatly shortened. Even if they recover completely, as long as I help, they will only need half a month at most. However, the apocalypse strategy is imminent, so I'm afraid we won't be able to make it in time. If we need their help, they should be able to recover about 60% of their strength. Saint experts with incomplete combat strength can't be of much use. Instead, they'll be in danger of dying. I don't think they'll help. Why don't we hold them off for a few days on our own? About 6 days after the apocalypse strategy, they'll be able to recover fully. When that time comes, it'll be a dream. The group was silent, but they knew that Yin Yang's words made sense. After all, they were not of the same race and had different intentions. If they were in their shoes, they would not risk their lives to fight for another race. At least, they would only do so if they were in perfect condition. Now, there were only 9 days left before the apocalypse strategy's activation. Yin Yang sighed. This is already the best outcome. Actually, we've already released a lot of the ocean's accumulated water during this period of time. It's much lower than the original sea level. However, with the return of the Sea Clan, I don't know if there will be other variables. After all, they're still the best at playing with the ocean. Shiman Fafu chuckled bitterly. This is very likely to happen. No, it's a situation that will definitely happen. The group could not help but chuckle bitterly. Once the tide rose, the monstrous waves would rise. With the driving force of an expert in controlling water, no one dared to underestimate the power of the ocean. It's hard for the plan to work now. You should know that there's not much left at the location of the flood discharge point. Even if we destroy it, there won't be much left. Yin Yang spread his arms. The amount of water there only reaches the foot of the mountain. Even if it's all gone, how much water can there be? On the other hand, how much water can be stored in these 9 heavens? That's true. Dongfang Haoren frowned. Yin Yang was frowning as well. He had asked everyone not to think about the Phoenix Emperor, but he was still worried. He had a feeling that things were not as simple as they seemed. Now, however, everything that could be done had been done. All that was left was to wait for the great battle. I don't care anymore, Yin Yang frowned. I'll try to destroy the mountains by the sea later. Destroy as much as I can. As he spoke, he called out to Ji Lingxi and Shangguan Lingxiu, and the 3 of them left together. On the surface of the ocean, countless members of the Sea Clan were laboriously moving mountains from afar to fill the gaps. 3 waves of extreme aura suddenly approached from afar, descending upon them. Chapter 1494. The saint experts of the Dragon Clan and Phoenix Clan who were guarding the peak lifted their heads and flew into the air, charging towards the imposing aura. The sudden arrival of the three powerful auras caused the arrogant saint experts of the Dragon Clan and Phoenix Clan to vanish into thin air. Instead, they felt chills running down their spines. The aura, it was as if Her Majesty the Demon Emperor and Her Majesty the Phoenix Sovereign had arrived together with a murderous aura. That was the insufferably abundant aura of an expert at the peak of this world, insufferably arrogant and overflowing with ferocious might. Behind these three auras, there were more than a dozen powerful auras, and behind them, was there a troop? Just as Yun Yang and his companions left, Dongfang Haoran and the others gathered and gave chase, along with the 300 personal guards left behind by the Fox Sovereign as reinforcements. Although they were few in number, it felt rather majestic at this juncture. After all, when Supreme Cloud or the human race had attacked in the past, it had only been 3 to 5 pinnacle powerhouses attacking together or, at most, a dozen of them. They would leave after a round of fighting. There had never been such a large group of people swarming in like a swarm of bees, as if they were attacking en masse. A dragon's roar could be heard as the leading golden dragon elder hollered, "Is this Sir Bound of Universe Supreme Cloud in front of us? The strategy of annihilation is about to be activated and the ultimate battle between the pinnacle of the two races is upon us. Sir, you are not waiting for the great battle on the other side of the Bound of Universe, but have come here to create trouble. Are you seeking your own death?" What answered him was a sharp saber light that seemed to be able to split the sky in half. Yin Yang's saber aura was ferocious and swift. The golden dragon elder of the Dragon Clan, who was the first to bear the brunt of the attack, could not avoid it in time and could only muster all his strength to block it. Clang! With a deafening boom, the elder of the golden dragon, who was a high-level saint, was struck by Yun Yang's saber until his dragon scales were scattered. The scepter in his hand was broken, and a gash that was several feet long was added to his body. He retreated like a cannonball and crashed into the mountain behind him. Looking at it, it was as if he had carved a deep hole in the mountain with his body. The few golden dragons at the back were scared out of their wits when they saw this. They turned around and returned to the formation in the sky, not daring to challenge Yun Yang at all. Even the golden dragon elder, who was known for his invincible defense, was cut down with a single slash. If we go up, wouldn't we be overestimating ourselves? In front of him, the sea of clouds suddenly parted. A purple-clad silhouette came like a gust of wind. The newcomer wielded a long saber and was dressed in an elegant purple robe. On the left was Ji Lingxi, who was clad in red, while on the right was Shengguan Lingxiu, who was clad in white. They looked like a celestial couple, like deities who had descended from the heavens. "Get lost!" Yin Yang hollered, "Those who block our way shall be killed without mercy." Before his voice trailed off, he charged straight toward the experts of the Dragon and Phoenix clans. Through the fight just now, Yin Yang was certain that the experts of the Dragon and Phoenix clans that he was facing now were not ordinary people. They were the elites of the two clans and the backbone of their forces, but their combat prowess was incomparable to the likes of Emperor Rock and Emperor Tiger. Even the Golden Dragon Elder, the strongest among them, had been defeated by a single slash of his saber. The rest of them were even more mediocre and insignificant. This was an opportunity to further reduce the combat power of the demon race's higher-ups. Faced with Yun Yang's extreme charge, even if the Dragon and Phoenix clans had the thought of evading, they could not carry it out in time. Yin Yang had already crashed into the formation. As the saber light shone brightly, it turned into a 1,000-foot-long saber. The saber's aura swung and fell like thunder. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The dozen or so experts of the Dragon and Phoenix clans who were caught in the saber energy, force, and light did not die on the spot, but they could not help but lose their balance from the recoil. They retreated hastily, their faces pale and their will to fight diminished. Supreme Cloud's cultivation base was truly terrifying. In spite of this, Ji Lingxi and Shengguan Lingxiu, who had come with Yun Yang, were already at the pinnacle of Saint Realm. Complemented by their mystical light that protected them, they rampaged among the experts of the two clans, attacking without defending themselves. The result of the battle was even worse than Yun Yang's. The divine light that protected them was the pinnacle of this world. As long as they did not encounter the full-force attacks of the pinnacle experts like the Demon Emperor, Phoenix Emperor, or Ocean Emperor, there was nothing they could do. As for the people in front of them, they were even more helpless. They could not hurt them no matter what. For a moment, dragon scales and phoenix feathers flew together, the blood of the dragons and phoenixes the same color. Seeing the difference in their combat power, the three of them were no longer in a hurry to wreak havoc. Instead, they continued to attack the dragons and phoenixes, causing the experts of the dragon and phoenix clans to groan incessantly. It was difficult to kill a saint-level cultivator, but if they were continuously injured by someone with a higher cultivation base than them, their life force would be depleted. Once they were restrained by Yin-Yang when they were at their weakest, it was not uncommon for them to perish. What was more, Yin-Yang had already killed 5 saint-level cultivators in an instant. It was a well-known feat that would shock anyone who heard of it. Even though the 5 saint-level demons that Yin-Yang had killed were beginner-level saints, far from the high-level experts of the dragon and phoenix clans, it was still frightening. In order to protect themselves, they were determined to counterattack. After all, the best defense was to attack. They prevented Yin-Yang and his companions from retaliating, so naturally, they could not threaten their own lives. In spite of this, the three of them were still at ease under the siege of 70 to 80 experts from the dragon and phoenix clans. Occasionally, they would counterattack, causing the formation of the dragon and phoenix clans to fall into disarray. Wherever Yin-Yang charged, the dragon and phoenix clans would avoid him, not daring to put in any effort to resist. The analogy of a tiger charging into a flock of sheep was as apt as a textbook example. By the time Dongfang Haoran and the others arrived, Yin-Yang had already charged back and forth a few times. He had even performed Saber Truth, Destiny Blade 3 times, and the results were glorious as well. More than 30 saint-level experts were injured all over, spitting blood as they retreated. Ji Lingxi and Shangguan Lingxiu attacked with all their might, but their defensive mystical light was the main reason why they achieved the most results. Their mystical light had never been limited to defense, but it was also extremely powerful. Cultivators below the level of saints would die upon contact, while saint-level cultivators would still have to pay a considerable price. Therefore, most of the true results of their attack came from the experts of the dragon and phoenix clans injuring themselves, causing many high-level saints to be severely injured and almost fall to the ground. After a round of attack, the three of them retreated from the battlefield and went to destroy the mountain below. After all, destroying the waterway's flow was their stated goal. Dongfang Haoran and the others filled in immediately. In terms of headcount alone, they were many times more powerful than before. Naturally, their reputation grew even more. In spite of this, the Dragon and Phoenix clan saints heaved a sigh of relief. It was true that Dongfang and the others were more powerful in terms of overall combat prowess, but for some reason, the experts of the Dragon and Phoenix races felt that the Phoenix race and the Dragon race were more powerful than Dongfang and the others. He did not want to face Yin-Yang's family of 3 lunatics. Moreover, they were 3 high combat maniacs that could not be killed or abandoned. In fact, it was impossible for him to even injure the other party. If he were to force himself to attack, he would only end up injuring himself. How were they supposed to fight? Yin-Yang, Ji Lingxi, and Shangguan Lingxiu made a big round before they gathered the Fox Emperor's 300 personal guards and charged towards the beach. His target, Big Mountain. All the saint experts of the Dragon and Phoenix races were being held back by Dongfang Haoran and the others, none of them coming back to help. In fact, even if they had seen it and had the time to pull themselves away, even knowing Yin-Yang's purpose, they had pretended not to see or hear it. I'm not going to hell. Whoever wants to go can go. Anyway, I'm not going. A group of sea race experts rushed up to stop them. Unfortunately, their combat strength was not on the same level at all. After a round of confrontation between the 3 of them, they were all easily killed. You have 2 hours. Yin-Yang ordered, destroy all the mountains by the coast within sight. Leave immediately when the time is up. No one is allowed to delay. Yes. The 300 personal guards acknowledged the order. Ji Lingxi and Shangguan Lingxiu each led a team and sped forward. Yun Yang stood alone in midair, monitoring the movement of the outer sea. As long as the sea race dared to show themselves, Yun Yang would suppress them mercilessly. He was decisive in his killing and merciless in his attacks. After all, Sea King was severely injured now. Other than Sea King, Yun Yang was unrivaled in the sea race. He had no qualms about killing anyone who came. It would be best if Sea King came personally. Sea King, whose combat strength was unparalleled, would only be sending himself to his death. After waiting for a while, Yun Yang decided to take the initiative to attack when he saw that there were no reinforcements from the sea tribes. He flew out swiftly, covering tens of thousands of feet in a single leap. Each time he flew, hundreds of thousands of marine creatures would perish in the water. The air of karma surged once more. The surface of the sea was filled with white bellies again. Dongfang Haoran and the others were speechless. Yun Yang was already a pinnacle expert in this world. He should have destroyed a few mountains when he was free, but he was slaughtering the weak sea race members here instead. He was killing them with the power of a half-step to the universe. This was too much of a bully. He had no integrity at all. They did not know that Yun Yang's main purpose was to accumulate the air of karma. Yun Yang was eager to elevate his cultivation method to the 8th stage of the endless divine art. As long as he achieved another breakthrough, it would not only mean a leap in his ability. As long as he could break through to the 8th stage, Yun Yang was confident that the current Demon Emperor, Sea King, Phoenix Emperor, and the rest would all become small shrimps that he could kill with a single slap. The improvement of his ability was still too slow. Too slow. Boom, 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 the mountains along the coastline were destroyed one after another. Rocks flew everywhere, and dust filled the air. Ji Lingxi and the rest had destroyed no less than 30 to 40 mountains so far and were still advancing forward, expanding their gains. As the mountains that blocked the waterway were gone, the seawater flowed through the gap. The Whale King, Shark King, and the rest of the sea race led a large group of experts and rushed over. They charged out of the water in a rage, but they were stopped by Yun Yang alone. Even when there were more and more experts from the sea race, they were still stopped by Yun Yang alone. Not a single one of them could take a single step forward. However, as the number of experts from the sea race increased, they saw that their tactical coordination was getting better. Recognizing the weakness that Yun Yang would not leave this line of defense, they decided to attack him from all directions and sent other experts to stop Ji Lingxi and the rest. This was probably the weakness of human strength. No matter how strong one's strength was, it was difficult to keep an army in check. The coastline was too long after all. On the other side, Dongfang Haoran and the rest of the experts from the Dragon and Phoenix clans fought in the air. They were locked in a fierce battle. It's almost time. Yun Yang let out a long howl. He knew that he could no longer stop the increasing number of members of the sea race. On the other side of the coastline, a large number of experts from the sea race had appeared. Among them, a gigantic tortoise emerged from the water. However, this tortoise shell was a few times bigger than a mountain. It was the Turtle Chancellor. The second expert after Neptune had finally arrived on the battlefield. Hearing Yun Yang's howl, Ji Lingxi mustered all her strength and slashed at the Turtle Chancellor's back, intending to stop the incoming enemy. Unexpectedly, her palm was numb from the impact. Shocked, she retreated quickly, not daring to continue the fight. She called for backup and retreated towards Yun Yang. Shangguan Lingxiu was a soldier who knew how to fight, so she had come to join them earlier. The two ladies joined forces and charged forward. Those who stood in their way were unstoppable. The Turtle Chancellor, who had taken a blow from Ji Lingxi, was enraged for once. He revealed his true form and blocked the two ladies' way with his gigantic body. Suddenly, it opened its mouth and a jet black sea water rushed out like a heavenly river pouring down in torrents. The stench was overwhelming. A dozen of the Fox Emperor's personal guards could not evade in time and were splashed by the black water. Before they could scream, their bodies had already turned into a pile of white bones, falling from the sky. Boom! A loud explosion resounded. The Turtle Chancellor hissed in pain. It was Yun Yang's powerful slash that landed squarely on the tortoise's shell. The Turtle Chancellor's body was incredibly sturdy. Yun Yang's slash did not really hurt him, but it did not stop him from crashing into the sea, stirring up waves that obscured one's vision. Yin Yang took the opportunity to gather all his men. A gust of wind blew past Dongfang Haoran and the others who were still fighting. The wind is tight. Brothers, hurry up. Dongfang Haoran did not know whether to laugh or to cry. F***ck. Why do you look like a bandit who has encountered a tough opponent? Where is your dignity as an unparalleled expert? It seemed like Yun Yang's information had a strong mention of robbery. It was called the black and white ruthless duo who do not rob the heavens or something like, the sky is 9 feet high, plucking the feathers of swallows as they pass. It was indeed a bandit's nickname. It seemed like this bandit's bad habit had been extended to this day. In spite of this, all of them were aware of the situation and used the momentum to retreat. All the saint-level experts of the human race followed behind Yun Yang and retreated. None of the saint-level experts of the demon race or the Sea clan dared to pursue them. Without a pinnacle expert to watch over them, chasing after them would be suicide. Dongfang Haoran and the others did not retreat back to the Fox Emperor's city but back to the Crimson Soul Mountain. The ultimate war between the two races was about to begin. This wave of destruction to the Sea clan and defense against the seawater was enough. Now, there was not much water flowing out from the destroyed mountain. It was impossible to empty the sea completely. Even if they blew up countless more mountains, the destruction would end here. This time, the strategic goal had been achieved perfectly. Next, it was time for the main event. Dongfang Haoran and the others had to return to take charge. Because, the final battle was about to begin. Chapter 1495. Time passed in the blink of an eye, and only a few days were left. Once Dongfang Haoran, Shimen Fengfu, and the others returned to Bloody Soul Mountain, they immediately gathered the troops and checked the combat groups of their martial artists. For the experts in sects, these were common methods, but for the rogue cultivators in the Jianghu, grouping them into groups was a big problem that they had never encountered before. Therefore, they had to undergo pre-battle training. However, most rogue cultivators were unruly, used to fighting alone, free and undisciplined. To form a combat group was not something that could be done in a short period of time. If they could not be smoothed out and forced, not only would it not be beneficial to the formation, but it would also create disharmony, contradictions, and flaws. It would be even more unsightly. With this in mind, the 3 palace masters simply assigned all the rogue cultivators to Zhan Wufei, and they were all incorporated into the Sacred Heart Palace. Then, they took out the entire Sacred Heart Palace and assigned people to train them. Originally, such a move would take a lot of effort and time. However, if the rogue cultivators of the Jianghu were allowed to do whatever they wanted, once a battle broke out, they would be thrown into disarray. It would be a good thing for them to not be able to hold their own, and it could easily affect the regular combat formations of the heavenly palaces that had already been formed. This was definitely not a groundless worry. Rather, it was a situation that was entirely possible and even inevitable. It was imperative for the 3 palace masters to prevent this in advance, but only God knew what the final effect would be. Many of the rogue cultivators were not used to receiving controlled training and other arrangements, and were even disgusted by it. Everyone was hot-blooded and volunteered to resist the invasion, to shed their blood and fight. It was nothing, so why did they have to listen to their commands? Learn to walk. Formation. I've walked all my life, and you're telling me I don't know how to walk? Everyone can just kill the demons when the battle starts. Are we going to cause trouble? Be a traitor? Aren't you looking down on us too much? The Sacred Heart Palace was busy with this. They had to do their work and explain again and again. It was impossible to ignore it and let it run its course. Just as they had said, those who could come here were all good men who disregarded life and death. How could they let them be bitterly disappointed? However, there were also rogue cultivators who were obedient, such as those who were given to Palace 9 Supremes. Well, it should be said that those who were given to Palace 9 Supremes were much more peaceful, obedient. The fundamental reason could be summed up in one sentence: try being awesome again. The meaning behind these words was clear. Do you know whose fist is bigger? If you dare to stab me, I dare to deal with you. Do you believe it? Especially now that the Palace of 9 Supremes was faintly showing signs of becoming the world's #1 sect, the rogue cultivators were all convinced. Looking at the Palace of 9 Supremes battle formation up close and experiencing it for himself, he would be able to see who was better. You are a saint venerable, so I will send 9 saint emperors to form a formation to fight with you. This is the effect of the formation, do you see? Do you understand now? It's more important to be honest. The Blood Soul Mountain was filled with cultivators of the saint class and above. As for the practitioners below the Great Sage level, they set up camp 500 miles below the Blood Soul Mountain. If the Blood Soul Mountain really collapsed, experts above the Saint Monarch realm would still have a chance to survive, but those below the Saint Monarch realm wouldn't have such confidence. One camp after another, stretching for thousands of miles, Tu Xiaofan pulled up his pants and returned to the Palace of 9 Supremes base. After a while, the crowd asked, "What's wrong with you? What are you doing again? Why are you making faces?" Back then, Hu Xiaofan had discovered the demon clan's abnormality, which made the human race aware of the demon clan's conspiracy earlier. He had been in the limelight, but no one blamed him even though he had made a strange appearance again. Instead, they had asked more questions, afraid that they would miss out on some important clues. Hu Xiaofan looked amazed. You don't know how many people there are until you've been to the 5 Valleys Valley. There are so many of them. The crowd was puzzled and asked for more details. The 5 Valleys Valley was a huge valley slightly further away from the other end of the Blood Soul Mountain, but the name 5 Valleys was only recently given. It was probably the waste of the people who gathered here every day. All of them were transported there, so the stench was so strong that it made people want to vomit. The reason why it was named 5 Valleys Valley was naturally derived from the cycle of the 5 grains. Hu Xiaofan grinned and said, "You don't know this, but I've been to the 5 Valleys Valley before. Not only is it a valley, but it also has a bottomless cliff 10,000 feet high. It's such a deep cliff, but now it's almost filled with feces. What do you think it's like? If there's no war for another month or so, maybe the 5 Valleys Valley will be renamed to 5 Valleys Mountain. It's a veritable mountain of feces. Maybe it's even higher than the Blood Soul Mountain." The crowd, who thought it was some secret rumor, frowned and cursed. Among them, a few female disciples felt nauseous and retched. Yun Xiaoxin gritted her teeth. As soon as she calmed down, she came up and grabbed Hu Xiaofan, beating him up. This bastard, he hasn't been beaten for only 1 day, and he's already, on the other hand, Shi Wuchen and the others stood at a high vantage point, watching as the number of people grew larger and larger. Their faces were filled with worry, and there was not the slightest hint of joy. Now, the number of martial artists who have come here has long exceeded the 50 million mark, Luo Dajiang said in a bored tone, carrying his saber. More than 50 million? Shi Wuchen sighed. Your information is too outdated. To tell you the truth, even now, the total number of people is not enough to beat 200 million. The last count half a month ago was already 150 million. Now, there are still many saint kings and saints rushing here. I'm really speechless. The crowd sighed in unison. Venerables, saints, saint kings. These names sounded very powerful, and perhaps in the eyes of ordinary martial artists, they were already top-notch experts. Many of these people were even heroes of their own regions. However, their strength was not enough in the battlefield against the demon clan, and they were probably not even cannon fodder. Any demon who could cross the Blood Soul Mountain and rush here would have the strength of a Saint Venerable or above. If a Saint King was sent over, it would be good enough if they did not swallow him whole. In other words, the result of praising a chicken feather as a duster would not only not be able to defeat the demon clan, but would also be sending them heads and even rations. But this was the truth, and the reality was the reality. One must not say it out loud. The truth was one thing, but it was still necessary to take care of the feelings of one's own people. One's pride should not be trampled on. A long howl rose from the peak of the mountain. Leaders of all sects, come quickly to the East Pole Station to discuss the war. This was Dongfang Haoran's return, and he called for a meeting of the Bound of Universe's top brass to discuss battle strategies and tactics. Shi Wuchen's spirits were lifted. Let's go. The two of them left side by side. On the other side, a howl shook the sky. Beast Kings of Tian Fa, come. After a round of discussion, the three heavenly palaces, as the first echelon, would go against the first wave, hoping to destroy the demon clan's attack, or at least delay their advance. As for the Beast Kings of Tian Fa, they would be the second wave of combat power to further attack the enemy, and the 9 Supremes would be the third wave. It would be best if they could counterattack for a while. In short, it was to exhaust the enemy's strength as much as possible. Then, it would be the final fourth wave, where everyone would go together and fight against the demon clan with numbers. However, if they really went to the last wave, the elites of the Bound of Universe's allied forces would be reduced by at least 60%, and there would not be much suspense in this war. For the Bound of Universe, for the human race behind us, we will fight to the last breath. Dongfang Haoran's expression was solemn. Everyone, there will definitely be sacrifices in battle, and everyone here may very well perish here. There is no need to say more about this. However, I hope that everyone, and the disciples behind you, even if you have to die in battle, don't die in a meaningless way. At the very least, drag someone down with you. This is my only request to everyone. This concerns the life and death of the entire Bound of Universe. Everyone, it's all on you and me, please. Dongfang Haoran did not mention how dangerous the current situation was, nor did he mention how huge and unbeatable the enemy's threat was, but with just a few short sentences and the last please, he had explained everything clearly and clearly. To be able to make the pinnacle of the human race say something like please, it had already explained too many problems. All participants, take a small token back later. This token is hard to destroy. Firstly, it can be placed on the chest to add some protection. Secondly, it's a proof of identity. As long as you write your name on it with blood, your personal information will be stored inside forever. Even if the war is unfortunate and there are no corpses left, as long as this small token is here, everyone can bury the remains of the heroes and let the future generations remember today's achievement. Dongfang Haoran still did not give a long speech. He only gave a brief arrangement before he dismissed the meeting and went to collect their tokens. If you have the intention to leave something behind or leave a message for your family, please write your will as soon as possible and send it to the camp at the back for safekeeping. As long as the logistics personnel are not all dead, everyone's will be sent home. Yes. At this point, everything was assigned properly. Dongfang Haoran, Shiman Fanfu, and the others walked out of the tents, facing the north wind at the mountain pass, their clothes and hair fluttering. There was a faint sense of desolation on both of their faces. Yin Yang is still there. Yes. He said that he wants to stay there and defend Fox Emperor City with 300 of Fox Emperor's personal guards. After all, he needs to personally communicate with Emperor Rock and the others. Right now, helping Emperor Rock and the others recover their injuries and strength is the key to turning the war around. It's of the utmost importance and cannot be neglected. Everyone is working hard in this war, especially Supreme Cloud. Dongfang Haoran sighed. Bound of Universe's Supreme Cloud, Bound of Universe's Supreme Cloud, truly worthy of his name. Chapter 1496. The leaders of the various sects began to mobilize urgently. It could also be considered the final mobilization. All of them walked in a hurry, so busy that their feet didn't even touch the ground. On the side of the Palace of Nine Supremes, only Shi Wuchen and the others were running about, while Yun Xiuxin and the other first-generation disciples were presiding over the situation. As for the sect leader, Supreme Yellow Cloud was nowhere to be seen. Not only him, but the two vice-sect leaders, who were also the actual sect leaders' wives, had not shown themselves for a long time as well. As time went by, such a situation had long raised doubts in people's hearts. Now that Dongfang Haoran and the others had personally come forward to arrange the arrangement, why did Yun Yang, who was also the leader of the Nine Supremes' palace, not show up? Gradually, some people began to express their dissatisfaction. The ultimate war between the two worlds is about to begin. All the experts of the human race have gone to the Blood Soul Mountain. The rulers of the three heavenly palaces and the Xian beast emperors of the Tian Fa Holy Land have all come. How arrogant could you be, Supreme Cloud? Could it be that you've already fled because you're afraid of death? He had no intention of participating in the battle at all. The opinions of these people were passed on by word of mouth. In just a few days, there were actually quite a few people who were quite dissatisfied with this. As the saying goes, the mouth of the masses can melt metal. Supreme Cloud isn't here yet? I didn't see him. Why doesn't he come out and show his face to boost morale? He is now a ruthless character who is on par with the giants of the present age. Is he not going to participate in the battle? Afraid of death? Did he stay behind? Humph, Xianhuang hero, hee. All kinds of strange rumors began to spread and finally reached Dongfang Haoran's ears. This situation almost made Dongfang Haoran's intestines swell from anger. In response to this matter, Dongfang Haoran had specially gathered all the higher-ups. Standing at the highest point, Dongfang Haoran's voice was like thunder. Are you suspecting Supreme Cloud? Who? Let me tell you, no one has the right to doubt Supreme Cloud. That's because Supreme Cloud has entered the Yao realm ever since the front lines were in dire straits. Up until now, he has been fighting there without rest for 2 whole months. He is the one who has worked the hardest, the one who has risked his life the most. Including the few of us, we also just retreated from that side. What right do all of you have to doubt Supreme Cloud's movements? Have you ever killed a demon? All of you, shut up. Anyone who dares to talk nonsense about Venerable Yun will be killed without mercy. Dongfang Haoran's anger soared into the sky. If anyone dares to say such things, they will be executed without mercy. Countless people were ashamed. Supreme Cloud had been fighting in the demon realm all along. He had been risking his life. These people were too self-righteous in their opinions. They should not have done so. Yun Xiuxin and the disciples of Palace of Nine Supremes, on the other hand, looked as calm as usual, not showing any anger and doing what they were supposed to do. This puzzled Zhang Wufei. It had not been long since the Palace of Nine Supremes had risen to power, but its movements were not insignificant. In the past, because someone had badmouthed Supreme Cloud, the disciples of the Palace of Nine Supremes had gone around challenging him like a madman, venting their master's anger. Now that he had encountered such grievances, how could he be so calm? Aren't you guys angry? Zhang Wufei asked. Yun Xiuxin was silent for a moment before she smiled and said, It would be a lie to say that I'm not angry at all, but all the people who come here are good men who serve mankind wholeheartedly. It's not good to be angry with them. Master once said that thousands of people have 10,000 hearts. As long as they still have loyalty in their hearts, they are good people. Good people will doubt good people, but as long as they don't tarnish that loyalty, it's enough. Zhang Wufei was dumbfounded when he heard this. Watching the disciples of the Palace of Nine Supremes leave, he suddenly felt that the Palace of Nine Supremes' position in his heart had risen significantly. He was even sure that even if Yun Yang took another step forward and left this world, the Palace of Nine Supremes would still be the Palace of Nine Supremes. This was because the disciples of the Palace of Nine Supremes had matured and had successors. In fact, they were much stronger than the heirs of the various sections. However, this breadth of mind alone was already much better than theirs. Time passed in a flash. It was getting closer to the day of the strategy of annihilation, and the atmosphere on the side of the human race was getting more and more oppressive. Everyone had been joking and chatting for the past few days, but now, they were silent, sitting cross-legged with their weapons in their arms and resting with their eyes closed. All of them were people who had been living on the edge of life and death in the martial world all year round. They knew very well that a great war was coming. On this day. It was a rare sunny day, without a single cloud in sight. The sun shone brightly, but there was not even a hint of wind. It was completely still. On the other side, in the realm of demons. In the territory of the Dragon Clan. This huge city had been demolished. Almost all the buildings had been destroyed, leaving only the once majestic city walls. On top of the city walls, white banners rose slowly. Demon Imperial City. The city was filled with white banners, but there was no wind today. The white banners hung in the air like dead snakes, motionless. The Demon Imperial City, which could originally house tens of millions of people, had been demolished, leaving only the city walls. The emptiness of the city was imaginable, but it was also hard to imagine. Even the Demon Imperial Palace, which was the most majestic and dignified of them all, no longer existed. The only thing left was a tall altar that was hundreds of feet tall. It was completely carved out of a single piece of rock. At the top of the altar, a huge memorial tablet was placed, but there were no words on it. Looking at the front, it was a huge statue of the Monkey Clan, holding a golden rod with one hand, standing on one leg, looking ahead, looking down on all living beings. Below the huge statue, there were steps, one by one, all the way down. At this moment, the Demon Emperor, who was wearing a golden cloak, was standing on the platform in front of the altar. He raised his head and looked at the altar. His expression was filled with pride and arrogance. The world annihilation strategy would be activated today. The Golden Dragon Guards, Silver Dragon Guards, Black Dragon Guards, and White Dragon Guards each gathered 9 by 9, lined up neatly, looking impressive. On the opposite side, there were also the high-ranking Phoenix Clan cultivators, who also gathered 9 by 9, complementing each other, multiplying their power. It was already late in the morning. The Demon Emperor slowly raised his hand. A series of low and deep drum sounds rang out slowly, gradually increasing in intensity. The sound reverberated in all directions. The drum sounds seemed low and deep at first, but they were uniform. It was made up of 99,999 large drums being beaten at the same time. As the drum beat continued, from all directions of the huge square, there were Demon Clan members coming in one after another. Countless Demon Clan warriors dragged groups of Demon Clan members, who were tied up tightly, into the square. On the ground, there were already countless mysterious lines drawn, and small squares were densely arranged. All the sacrificial warriors who were prepared to be used for the world annihilation strategy, no matter how they struggled or how angry they were, once they entered the small squares would emit a strange yellow light. Bathed in the yellow light, the Demon Clan warriors no longer moved, but just knelt on the ground, straightened their bodies, raised their heads, and automatically exposed their necks, as if they were ready to be killed. It seemed that at this moment, their divine souls had been completely shocked, and they were willing to sacrifice themselves, without any regrets. Groups of Demon Clan members were escorted in, starting from the middle and the front of the square, one by one. Soon, the square was densely packed with the heads of Demon Clan members. More and more yellow light gathered, and gradually spread out. The executors of the Demon Clan all had cold faces, and their hands and feet were extremely agile. They quickly came in, put down the sacrificial warriors, and turned to leave, without any hesitation, and so on and so forth. The densely packed Demon Clan members seemed to be lined up all the way to the horizon, with no end in sight. No wonder they wanted to destroy all the buildings in the Demon Imperial City. With such a layout, if they did not destroy the entire demon imperial city, how would there be enough space? Suddenly, a demonic wind rose. In the sky above the demon imperial city, countless figures of the Sea clan appeared, densely covering the entire sky. In the next moment, countless offerings from the Sea people were thrown down like dumplings. There were many demon clan warriors below who caught them one by one and pressed them into a small grid. Their movements were neat, fast, effective, messy, and orderly. There was no chaos at all. This reign of Sea clan sacrifices in the sky lasted for a full quarter of an hour, and finally stopped. Below, a large flag suddenly waved. Reporting to your majesty, the number of 1 billion sacrifices has been reached. It was a loud and clear report, but it meant that the people were about to be plunged into misery and suffering. The demon emperor, who was standing proudly in mid-air, nodded lightly. Open the sacrificial altar. Activate the formation. Immediately, a blood-stained dog clan member was brought to the front of the sacrificial altar, and knelt down in a separate square on the sacrificial altar. That was the Dog Emperor. Although the Dog Emperor was forced to kneel down, his cultivation level was high after all, and his mind was not completely taken away. He suddenly raised his head and shouted sternly. Long Yutian. You have gone too far. You will be punished by the heavens. You have massacred the people of the demon clan, you will definitely be punished by the heavens. The demon emperor's expression changed, and he shouted, do it. With his command, the formation in the surroundings lit up as if receiving an imperial order, as if 4 suns had suddenly risen in the surroundings. The light was blinding. However, yellow light filled the center, and the figures of the demon clan members could no longer be seen clearly. In the surroundings, huge blades were slowly forming. Every blade was at least 10,000 feet long, and they shone with a cold light, and it was a ghastly sight. Cast. The blades in the surroundings suddenly moved, and as the blades cut through the air, the trails of the blades became longer and longer, killing from all directions, and ruthlessly slashed towards the countless demon clan members kneeling in the center. Puff, 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 countless heads fell from the saber, and perfectly round pillars of blood shot up into the sky. Following that, countless souls of the demon clan looked around blankly in the air, and suddenly disappeared, swallowed by the yellow light. The entire square was instantly filled with the stench of blood, and instantly turned into a bloody hell. The shadows of the 4 blades cycled back and forth, crisscrossing, and in no time, the 500 million demon clan members and 500 million Sea clan members had all been turned into corpses. This was a horrifying and extreme massacre. It was also a tragedy that had never happened before in the history of this world. The blood of the beheaded demon clan members did not flow to the ground, but together with the bodies that had lost their heads, they were turned into pieces of minced meat, and the drops of blood flowed into the yellow light. The yellow light became thicker and thicker, and in the end, it condensed into a solid yellow line, and rushed into the altar's formation. In an instant, the clouds dispersed, and the yellow light completely disappeared. The square became clean and spotless, as if nothing had happened. But the nauseating stench that lingered in the air reminded all the demon clan members of what had happened here. On the altar, the Dog Emperor, who was being beheaded, was still cursing when the blade light chopped off its head, but was immediately pulled away by the yellow light. At the last moment, he looked up to the sky and shouted, Jiuliao. I have let you down in the past. Chapter 1497. Before the Dog Emperor could finish his sentence, his primordial spirit was pulled away by the yellow light and disappeared without a trace. The Phoenix Emperor, who was watching from the side of the altar, waved his hand. There was no change of expression on his cold face. The next batch began. Just like before, it was orderly, messy, but not messy. The towering giant altar sucked in the souls of billions of Monster Clan and billions of Sea Clan members in batches, as if it couldn't eat its fill and continued to gorge itself on them. The whole process lasted until the morning of the second day. The end of the last batch of sacrifices was completed by another demon emperor who was pushed onto the stage. The Pig Emperor. The Pig Emperor didn't say anything. He only laughed coldly from the beginning to the end before he died calmly. 10 billion demons and 10 billion members of the Sea Clan were turned into nothingness in one day and one night. The sky above the entire demon imperial city was silent, but there seemed to be countless ghosts crying and wailing. Finally, the 20 billion sacrifices were all killed. The sacrifice came to an end. At this moment, the entire stone altar had already turned dark red, as if there was an endless amount of blood flowing on it, but other than that, there was no other movement. The Phoenix Emperor frowned. Suddenly, he waved his hand and shouted, "Kill again." The demons looked at each other. Kill again? Kill who? The sacrificial offerings were all dead. Before the Phoenix Emperor finished speaking, the 8 experts of the Phoenix clan attacked together and quickly captured a golden dragon guard and a low-level saint of the Phoenix clan. Without any explanation, he brought the dragon and the phoenix onto the high platform and pressed them to the ground in the empty space. The 2 experts of the dragon guard and the phoenix still didn't know what was going on. They were dumbfounded and terrified. What happened? This was not in the original plan. We are the trusted followers of the Emperor, the elites of the Dragon Clan and the Phoenix Clan. Your Majesty. Your Majesty. The Phoenix Emperor's face was as cold as steel. Kill. Guide the souls of the dragon and phoenix into the altar. Saber light flashed. The dragon and the phoenix immediately turned into smoke, dying in an instant. Their bodies and souls followed in the footsteps of billions of creatures as they surged into the altar. The dark red color of the altar suddenly became even more intense. Then, it disappeared and turned snow-white. It was filled with a sacred and solemn atmosphere. After a while, it even emitted a bright white light, which made people feel relaxed and happy. It was a feast for the eyes and the heart. At the same time, a murmur seemed to come from beyond the heavens and resounded in the hearts of all the demons. At this moment, all the demons realized one thing: the world annihilation strategy. It was done. The white light on the altar gradually grew and soared into the sky, spiraling endlessly in the air. The demon sovereign looked over, and so did the phoenix sovereign. The 2 emperors heaved a sigh of relief at the same time. They could both sense that the white light contained a terrifying power that could destroy the entire world. The demon sovereign paced with his hands behind his back and smiled happily. Phoenix sovereign, are you going to guide it or am I going to guide it personally? The phoenix sovereign pondered for a moment, frowned, and said hesitantly, originally, the demon emperor should have personally carried out this magnificent feat, the white light destroying the world, and even the magnificent feat of awakening the demon world for thousands of generations. However, this world-destroying white light still possesses great power. Those who use external forces to activate the white light are extremely likely to be devoured by the white light. After all, it is formed by the lives of 20 billion demons. If they are devoured by the white light, it is inevitable that they will be injured. The Phoenix Sovereign looked at the Demon Sovereign. His gaze was a little conflicted and complicated. It was as if he was anticipating something, but also as if he was worried about something. All in all, at this moment, the Phoenix Sovereign's gaze was almost indescribable. It was as if there were countless personalities clashing intensely at this moment. The Phoenix Sovereign was so conflicted that he couldn't be sure what he was thinking. The white light destroying the world was already a foregone conclusion. However, whoever guided the white light would suffer the backlash. This was also a well-known fact. The Phoenix Sovereign hoped that he would guide it. However, he was also looking forward to whether his big brother could stand out at this moment. To not let himself suffer this injury. If he stood out, it would prove that he really treated him as a brother, a biological brother. He really didn't want to let himself suffer any injury. Then what should I do? If he didn't stand out. If he didn't stand out, it would be easy. However, was there only scheming in life? Was there only success and failure? Was there only infighting and scheming? The Phoenix Sovereign was struggling. He was anticipating and also fearful. He even made a decision in his heart: Big brother, as long as you stand out now, I will give up on my tens of thousands of years of scheming. From now on, I will only be your brother. I won't be the Phoenix Sovereign. As long as you stand out. However, he was also fearful. If my big brother really stood out and I really gave up, would I be willing? The Demon Sovereign was deep in thought. Because he was deep in thought, he didn't see the Phoenix Sovereign's complicated gaze. The Demon Sovereign was also very worried about this. The power of this white light to destroy the world was unimaginable. From the very beginning, the Phoenix Sovereign had mentioned the possibility of this backlash. The Demon Sovereign had already foreseen this and had always been worried about how he should proceed with this matter. According to his true thoughts, in the entire demon race, there were only two sovereigns who could guide this light to destroy the world. He and the Phoenix Sovereign were strong enough, qualified enough, and loyal enough. As the leader, at this critical juncture, the demon race still needed him to hold the fort. Naturally, he couldn't take the risk. If he really suffered a backlash, then what was the point of unifying the demon race in the sea, land, and air? What was the point of annexing the bound of universe? The Demon Sovereign had never thought of giving up. Not only was the Phoenix Sovereign powerful, he also had the support of the Nirvana flames. His self-healing ability was unparalleled in the universe. In this case, it was still best for the Phoenix Sovereign to guide it. Even if he suffered a backlash, he wouldn't die. He was a phoenix. He could be reborn. That was the Demon Sovereign's plan. However, he didn't expect that the Phoenix Sovereign was also worried about this. This is a heavy responsibility. The Demon Sovereign, who had already made up his mind, couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed. He obviously hoped that the Phoenix Sovereign could take the initiative to take on this responsibility. The Phoenix Sovereign pondered for a moment more. Seeing that the Demon Sovereign remained silent, a hint of death finally flashed in her eyes. He calmed his emotions and said, "Brother Long, you're responsible for the entire demon race. You can't afford to lose anything. If Brother Long is at ease, you can leave this matter to me. I have the Nirvana flame. Even if I suffer a backlash, I can still maintain a certain level of strength." The Demon Emperor was relieved and laughed. "Why would I be worried about Brother Feng? Feel free to guide him. If we succeed, I will share the entire world with Brother Feng. What is mine will be yours." The Phoenix Emperor smiled amiably and said, "Then I'll take care of this matter, but I must ask Brother Long to give me a golden dragon core aura, the kind with Long Yun. My power is inferior to Brother Long's. If the backlash is too intense and causes a mistake in the plan, it will not be good. I also have a lot of protection so that I won't die from the backlash and won't be able to share His Majesty's world." Golden Dragon Core Chi. The Demon Emperor's power source. The Demon Emperor didn't even think and threw a golden dragon aura towards the Phoenix Emperor. He laughed and said, "Brother Feng, if it's not enough, I can give you another one to help you achieve this feat." The Phoenix Emperor squinted his eyes and smiled. "One is enough." The Demon Emperor didn't see that the moment the Phoenix Emperor turned around, although she tried to control herself, her white face had already turned as red as blood. Even her tall and straight body was trembling slightly. That was a sign of extreme agitation. Even with her intelligence, she couldn't control herself. "You gave up. You really gave up. You really pushed me to sacrifice myself. But do you know that this is my plan for tens of thousands of years? This is my ultimate goal. My heart hurts. I want to die. But I look forward to it. From now on, I am the Phoenix Emperor. You are the Dragon Emperor." At the side, the Demon Emperor took a deep breath and said, "Brother Feng, the order to gather has already been given." However, not only did the Peng, tiger, wolf, leopard, and the other races not gather, even the forces that were gathered have already retreated. You and I still have to, but at this moment, the Phoenix Emperor's thoughts were no longer here. He was born wise and resourceful. He had calculated everything and could determine victory from 1,000 miles away. However, even though a wise person was wise, once he was tempted by a great temptation, his rationality would become insignificant. Just like the Phoenix Emperor at this moment. At this moment, his thoughts, his entire spirit, had been attracted by the white light of the world annihilation strategy. His emotions were so complicated that even 10,000 books couldn't describe them clearly. His eyes were filled with the white light of annihilation. He didn't care what the Demon Emperor said anymore. In fact, he didn't even hear it. Brother Long, prepare to go to battle. The Phoenix Emperor let out a long howl, putting all of his thoughts into action. His body seemed to have transformed into a huge phoenix impatiently, soaring into the sky with his original form. At the same time, a thick nirvana true fire surged out. The Phoenix Emperor soared into the sky with his original form and headed towards the white light of annihilation. However, a white light suddenly shot out from the Phoenix Emperor's mouth. It was a white light that was almost the same as the white light above the altar, but much weaker. The Demon Emperor, who was watching the development of the situation, suddenly had a thought. This white light from the Phoenix Emperor is so familiar, the white light from the Phoenix Emperor combined with the white light from the altar. The white light from the altar was like a wanderer that had found the direction to return home. Its originally solid state suddenly changed and it started to transfer towards the Phoenix Emperor bit by bit. However, after a while, the white light of annihilation had already finished transferring from the altar, and the nirvana true fire around the Phoenix Emperor had turned into a pure white holy light. Wisps of formless matter gathered towards the Phoenix Emperor's body from the altar. The Phoenix Emperor rose higher and higher, and an indescribably powerful aura became stronger and stronger. The Demon Emperor stood below and looked at the Phoenix Emperor in the sky. His expression slowly turned ugly. This was because he could clearly feel that the Phoenix Emperor had become unprecedentedly powerful. If she wanted to kill him, all she needed to do was to breathe. The power of the world annihilation strategy had reached such a terrifying level. And what was happening in front of him, was it inevitable, or was there something else? The mind of an emperor would instinctively suspect anyone and any possible motives. In the past, the Cat Emperor and the Fox Emperor were like that, and now, the Phoenix Emperor was also like that. Drops of blood suddenly fell from the sky, and the moment they landed on the ground, they immediately ignited into flames. The Phoenix Emperor said anxiously, "Swear to set off immediately. The power of the light of annihilation is beyond imagination, and I can't hold on for too long. I have to release it as soon as possible. I'm going." With a flap of her wings, the Phoenix Emperor couldn't wait any longer and tore through the space, disappearing in a flash. Set off. The Demon Emperor rose into the sky and shouted, "The great cause of the demon race will be decided today." You're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.